NBC Sports, the exclusive home of the Verizon IndyCar Series. And starting in 2019, the Indianapolis 500. Only on NBC Sports.
It's time for IndyCar racing in the Lone Star State. Texas Motor Speedway has turned on the lights and is about to ignite the night with speeds of more than 200 miles per hour. The last time the series was on an oval, this guy, Will Power, won the race of his life, the Indianapolis 500. Power not only became the first Australian to ever win the event, but he also delivered his boss, Roger Penske, a 17th Indy 500 victory. He's also the defending race winner here in Texas. And to top it all off, Power is the points leader, just 5 ahead of Scott Dixon, who enjoyed a super win last weekend in Detroit and will be one to watch tonight as he attempts to drive to Victory Circle for the third time at this track. Meanwhile, Alexander Rossi is in amazing form this season, but after victory slipped from his grasp in the Motor City last weekend, he'll be out for redemption. And they'll all be chasing the pole sitter, Team Penske's Josef Newgarden. The reigning series champion dropped to 5th in the points, and that's a source of frustration because he once was the leader, and he sees tonight as the turning point to get his season back on track. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon. And it is a warm and breezy evening here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, mid-90s, and that's been constant over the last couple of days. And thankfully, the track temperature is dropping for the car's performance. We'll monitor that. It was very high yesterday, approaching 140 degrees. Hi, folks. Lee Diffie with you here at Texas Motor Speedway. Welcome to round 9 of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Now, we're going to take you all the way here, all the way through to the 17th and final round in 100 days' time at Sonoma in California for the now traditional finishing point of this series. And it has been a really solid workload for everybody involved in this championship of late. You think about the month of May, the Grand Prix of Indianapolis leading up to the Indy 500, and then, of course, last weekend, on the first weekend in June, the Detroit doubleheader. There's been a lot of work, but after tonight, they do get to have a weekend off. But all of that hard work has produced what is a thrilling championship fight. Look at this. Will Power, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, leading over Scott Dixon by just 5. There have been 4 different championship leaders in the 8 rounds thus far. We could not ask for more diversity, to have it mixed up a little bit more. And I welcome in my good mates here from NBC Sports, our IndyCar experts, Paul Tracy and Townsend Bell, ready to go under the lights. We know that this place is exciting. What do you make about that points battle? I mean, it's kind of what we thrive on. It's what the series really needs, and it's going great.
I think we're shaping up for one of the best championship battles we've ever seen because of the way that things are seesawing back and forth. You come here to Texas, where Chevy looks like they have a little advantage like what they saw at Indianapolis, but then at Detroit, Honda was so dominant. And I think tonight the strength of a lot of contenders like Scott Dixon, the Penske drivers, will be ones to watch.
Points are great. Points situation nice and tight.
Oh, yeah. Well, the deck is completely shuffled through May when you have 200 points available over the course of 2 race weekends, and then you go into these back-to-back races in June. It really sets the stage for the final push to the end of the season. In this month, we're going to figure out who's going to be the championship contenders.
Well, some of those drivers towards the top of this year's championship who know what it's like to win a Verizon IndyCar Series championship put on quite a show here 12 months ago.
Strap in. Hold on tight. It's IndyCar at Texas.
3 wide, you're in the middle. All right. Oh.
Alexander Rossi into the wall.
Ed Carpenter, what a save.
This is getting crazy, man. Outside corner, this is the 5. In and out.
They nearly come
Oh, there it goes.
Oh,
It's the big one. Down to a field of 11 cars.
Finally, back to green flag racing.
3 wide behind the leader. Oh, you can't do that. Newgarden made contact.
All right, bud. Yeah, I'm okay.
20 to go.
Dixon Power. No surprise, they're up front, duking it out for the win.
3 wide now.
No attack, no chance. Takuma Sato making it stick 2 laps in a row.
Sato coming to the bottom side of
Oh!
Dixon, and they turn. Dixon goes around. Sato goes around. Power is in front. Tonight, it was about survival, and Will Power survived to win at Texas.
Great job today. You were the man. Oh, my God, what a race.
Did you know that this is the 30th time that Indy cars have run here at Texas Motor Speedway? And history tells us that we get treated to races like that more often than not. Paul Tracy, for you, in your mind's eye, are we going to get one of those kind of races tonight? What can we expect?
Well, absolutely. The track right now is really hot. Got a little bit of a wind going on as the sun is setting, but then once the lights come on, look out. These guys absolutely go crazy, and they're side by side and racing really hard.
Townsend, there's been lots of interesting topics of discussion this weekend. One has been about tyres and whether they're going to blister or not. We're going to keep a watchful eye on that. The other one is the extension of the zone where the drivers must be on the 60-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limiter under the umbrella for safety. They're going to take it a little further around that turn 1-2 section.
Yeah, with the new aero kit for this year, a little less downforce, the drivers are complaining about how treacherous it was exiting right here, turn 2 at speed. So IndyCar moved the pit speed all the way through the apron to where you see the yellow cones there on the left on the pit wall. What that does, though, is it makes it very difficult to come off 60-mile-an-hour pit speed and get up to speed for turn 3 for cars that are on track. This was last night. Zach Clayman DeMello trying to get up to speed. Staying low. There comes Will Power. And Will Power just left a few inches, but it wasn't enough because DeMello got his left front on the apron, had to check up and move up the track just a few inches, and that's how razor tight the margins are here at Texas. And the drivers, especially if you're a rookie like DeMello, they've got their hands full coming out of the pits.
By the way, folks, Will Power just told us in the drivers' meeting, yeah, I thought I touched him. I felt like a little thing. And Townsend said, do you want to see it? I've got it on my phone. He said, no, I don't want to see that before I go into the race, thanks. And speaking of Team Penske, Marty Snyder is standing by. Yesterday, qualifying was a really productive time for the team, Marty.
It was indeed 1, 2, 3 in qualifying. This guy, Josef Newgarden, on the pole. Simon Pagenaud is second. So a lot of topics the guys just covered them with tonight. Obviously, heat. You got pack racing. Pit road is a bit of a concern. Tires are a bit of a concern. So, Simon, what worries you the most about all of those?
I try not to worry. If you worry, you go to the back. So I just try not to worry. I think it's going to be a great show. Super excited about DXC being the main sponsor here and our sponsor as well at Team Penske. They've been awesome. And I think it's going to be great racing. I think we've got tremendous cars. The handling is fun. But it's going to take time. You know, it's like every oval races, we're going to have to work that second lane up. But it's going to be a fun, especially at the end. I think it's going to be very exciting.
All right, Joseph, so how do you balance that need to sort of, take care of the Firestones tonight, but also be aggressive when you need to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be feeling this out for the first stint or two. Seeing what we've got, seeing as the racetrack develops. But for us, I think we've got a great race car like Simon talked about. I mean, all three of us up front, that speaks to what Team Penske's all about, how they build fast race cars, but they also build all of them fast. So, I don't know. I mean, it's a guessing game a little bit for us until we get through that first and second stint. I don't think we're going to 100% know how the race is going to develop, but I think it's going to get closer and closer as the night comes on and the temperature drops. So I feel good about our Verizon car. Team Chevy's been rocking it for the last month and a half, so we'll try and continue that.
All right, I want to ask both of you, because you both mentioned it, how different is the race going to be at the beginning versus the end?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when the sun's set, the temperature is going to drop, and that's going to make the cars a lot better. Everybody's going to get better, and I think you'll see a much more exciting race. A lot of people would complain at the beginning and get much better in the end, so I hope we just stay the best.
Is it going to be a pack race at the end of this thing, Joseph?
It's hard to say. I say this, as we get towards the end of the night, it's going to close up a lot. So I don't know how much it's going to string out in the beginning, but when we get to the end, we're going to be closed up quite a bit, I think.
And Lee, the pack racing we're talking about, we saw that last year. Those are the highlights you just watched. So a lot of excitement to come here this evening from Texas.
Marty, thanks so much. Yes, there's the message loud and clear from the two guys up the front. It's going to get interesting later, and that's exactly what this man Will Power said. We're going to talk to him a little later in IndyCar Live. But coming up next, this man who thrilled everybody at the Indianapolis 500 and almost won in Detroit last weekend, Alexander Rossi.
You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon, the best network and the best unlimited.
Checkered flag is in the air. A first-timer is going to win the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race. California's Alexander Rossi to the checkered flag, and he's done it.
Checkered flag! You just won the Indy 500, baby! Oh my God! Oh my God!
There had been, a lot of question marks raised, rightfully or wrongfully so, after the 100th running of the 500, and the fact that I didn't deserve to win and I didn't have the pace to win, and it was very important to me to prove the fact that I am quick around there and have the capability of winning that race on speed.
Does it bother you at all? You know, you win the 500, the 100th running of the 500, but you do it on fuel mileage. And everybody afterwards says, that's not really a true win. Did that bother you?
It bothered me every day until qualifying came around. And my entire month of May, all I wanted to do was be in the Fast 9.
Checkered flag waving is good enough, 231.475. And right now, he has the pole position, Alexander Rossi.
We weren't a 25th place car. They ended up winning. So that, I was glad I was able to put all those conversations to bed.
Were you able to kind of mentally shut that book and say, okay, that's over with, I'm moving on, I'm done with that, once you put it on the front row the next year?
100% I was able to move on from that. My goal for the month of May was obviously to win, but more so was to qualify up front. And to be able to accomplish that was a big sense of relief for me personally.
The Andretti Autosport driver has that Indy 500 victory. The next thing on his list is to become a Verizon IndyCar Series champion. He has led the championship this year, and he's now back in 3rd place at the moment. He will start 8th today, and he enjoys racing here. He was a contender last year before a crash involving several other drivers. You were his teammate at your last Indy 500 a couple of years ago. You got to know him on a better level. He's now 2.5 years into his IndyCar career, and it sounds a little bit funny me saying he's found his feet considering he's an Indy 500 winner, but he seems very comfortable in his skin in this environment, and he is delivering more often than not.
I'll never forget, after the very first practice session, Alexander Rossi came to me and his eyes were just as big as saucers. I said, "Are you okay?" He just looked at me and said, "It's gnarly out there." And I said, what you need to figure out is how to flip that little primal switch inside and embrace kind of the aggro of what this high-speed oval racing is all about. And he's done that.
Well, it's funny you say that because, Paul, you love his aggression. Quiet guy out of the car, but in the car?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way he drives. He just texted me 20 minutes ago. He said, high or low in turn 1? I said high. He goes, I'm glad you said that. So he's ready to go when the green flag drops. And look at this. These restarts at Indy. Everybody talks about Tony Kanaan as the restart master. I'm telling you what, right now, Alexander Rossi made some moves that I have never seen in my life.
I talked about aggro mode. This is what it looks like right here. Not backing down from a challenge and being very precise with every decision, but being bold.
And they were very, like you say, it's possible, but you've got to be brave. And he executed those moves with a tremendous amount of skill and determination. So we'll see what Alexander Rossi has for us tonight. He was in the mix to win last week in Detroit, but in the end, it was a weekend, the doubleheader that was dominated by 2 veterans.
Belle Isle, a unique doubleheader weekend for the Verizon IndyCar Series. So Marco Andretti in.
The leader pits on lap 24, leading for the first time this season.
The lead falls to Scott Dixon.
Oh, and a big crash. That's Graham Rahal in the wall. Graham Rahal hard in the wall.
That's a huge hit, boys.
Wow.
I'm sorry, boys. I have absolutely no clue what happened. Snapped so huge on the entry, and I have no clue.
Scott Dixon has been so very dominant on the day. Lead twin checkers are out, and Scott Dixon goes to victory lane here on the streets of Belle Isle.
And with that win, the 42nd of his career, Scott Dixon moves into a tie for 3rd all-time on the wins list alongside Michael Andretti, behind legends AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti. It's been a week now, Scott. What do you think that this milestone means for your own legacy?
It's always hard, right? You know, you're kind of in the heat of the battle right now and just trying to get wins. And to be honest, you know, the Verizon IndyCar Series right now, the competition is just through the roof. So to get a single win is always tough, and we've got to try and build on that and try and get on a bit of a roll here and try and pick up some more. But for me to be on that short list, you know, it's an amazing feeling. The really cool thing is that, you know, AJ, Mario, Michael, they're all still these races, you know, and just to hear the stories, you know, that they have alone is pretty crazy. But I don't know, I hope it continues. That's all I hope for. I love doing what I do. I love racing Indy cars, and you know, hopefully tonight the PNC Bank car will be fast enough that we can maybe snatch number 43.
All right, we've heard some debate. A lot of people talking about tires, some talking about track position. What do you think is going to be key for tonight's race?
Yeah, I think trying to figure out the tire situation early, I think is going to be key. I think, it's a long race, right? So, I think you got to be careful on, not to make a big mistake early on, take you out of the race. Last year there was a lot of cars that went out fairly early and there was just not that many at the end, and, it turned into a pretty good race if you were left. So for us, it's just going to be sort of trying to work out what's best. I think, our car was fairly strong in the final practice, but tonight's another night. We have to see where it goes, but fingers crossed we should be on the right side of it.
All right, Scott, thank you for your time. Well, following his win in race 1 in Detroit, Alexander Rossi took over the points lead. On top of that, he won pole for race 2 in Detroit. Look how this race panned out.
Downtown Detroit, Belle Isle. It's the second half of the Detroit Grand Prix. So Alexander Rossi has led every lap so far. He's out in front by 5.8 seconds on Will Power. Hunter Ray just set fast lap of the race.
Watch the speed here.
This is the hardest section of the track. Oh, yeah.
Nice job. We're making some good gains now. Keep it going.
He's on a mission.
Oh, that's a lot better.
There you go.
6.3 seconds.
Rossi has Ryan Hunter-Ray right there on the rear wing.
7 laps to go now. Rossi brakes very, very late. Goes into the runoff area. Overshoots the runoff area in turn number 2. Handing the lead over to Ryan Hunter-Ray. Wind checkers are out, and Ryan Hunter-Ray is going to go to victory lane here at Belle Isle.
Scott Dixon just addressed the quality of the field in the Verizon IndyCar Series and how tough it is to get a win. Look at how much movement there has been in the championship point situation over the month of May, and counting Detroit last weekend. Will Power went from 10th to now leading. Scott Dixon calls his run productive to go from 7th to 2nd. And Alexander Rossi, he's been nice and stable, 2nd to 3rd. And with more on Rossi, here's Kevin Lee. Kev?
Lee, there's a lot of ground we can cover with Alex. Let's go back to what the guys were talking about with the Indianapolis 500. With no oval experience, you've backed up the win with 2 fantastic performances. How'd you figure that out so quickly?
Great team, man. I have to thank all of Andretti Autosport, my teammates especially. I mean, I have a lot of experience to rely on with Marco and Ryan and Carlos for the time that he's been there. So it's taken a lot of really smart people to help me, but I'm just glad that we've been able to have some strong runs there.
The good thing last weekend is that you were really fast, could have had 2 great results. How do you move past that? What did you take away from race number 2 in Detroit?
You live and learn, man. I mean, at the moment you're going for race wins, and we're early enough in the season where you want to keep winning races, right? And in hindsight, obviously, you don't brake so hard that you go down the access road, but hindsight's a beautiful thing that doesn't exist. So fortunately, the Napa Auto Parts car has been strong all weekend, so hopefully we can go to the front tonight.
Something to be said for going after it. This guy wants to win, Lee.
Yeah, we'll expect that again from him. We look in the rearview mirror to Detroit one more time, and millions of people around the world saw this. Yes, the pace car being crashed by GM executive Mark Royce. We should say that nobody was injured. Mark is actually a licensed and accredited driver in his own right. He's a big motorsport fan. He's a huge supporter of IndyCar Series. And Robin, sometimes things just go wrong.
You know what, Lee? Crashing the pace car at IndyCar is nothing new to Mark Royce. Let's go back to 1971 at the Indy 500. Eldon Palmer was a Dodge dealer in Indianapolis. He'd been practicing all week. They moved the cones. He went 150 miles an hour by the car, slid into the photo stand. Thankfully, no one was killed. A couple people broke their legs. Another man was hurt. But that was the last time they had an amateur drive the pace car for a while. Then we go to Long Beach. John Rutherford, 3-time Indy winner, plugs it into the tires and almost takes Rick Mears with him. Then we've got John Rutherford at Texas here in 1999 or 2000, I can't remember, and he bangs into Donnie Beechler, almost gets upside down. Then we got Arie Luyendyk, one of the stewards today's race. He's going 100 miles an hour, loses it. He says, thankfully I didn't hit the wall. But the greatest one of all, they stole the pace car at Talladega. We've never had the pace car stolen in an IndyCar race yet. And I just told Sarah Fisher, she's driving the pace car tonight, don't screw up, and she said, don't put the pressure on me. The best thing, though, is Johnny Rutherford had such a good sense of humor after that happened. He said the only guy that really gave him a hard time was Al Unser, and Al Unser was on his case for like 2 years. You can't even drive a pace car and you won the Indy 500 3 times. It can happen to anybody. Hopefully it won't be happening tonight, fellas.
Yes, that is for sure. Fabulous walk down memory lane there with Robin, and Robin will have a special essay for us coming up in the show as well as we get close to start time. Want to tell you about our Verizon streaming. Marco Andretti will give us the view tonight, by the way, and you can go inside IndyCar all season long by downloading IndyCar Mobile exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. And when we come back, Something new, something special with RHR. A little bit of fun with what you're cooking.
It's another Texas Motor Speedway finish. Jeff Ford has won by 11 thousandths of a second.
Why do I get the distinct impression that TKD's a f***ing lesson in how to do this?
3 wide down the back straightaway. Now they're trying to go 4 wide.
3 wide, you're in the middle.
Side by side, wheel to wheel at 210 miles an hour.
Look at Marco Andretti, year after year, the first guy to go high and go brave.
Rahal and Hinchcliffe to the line. Graham Rahal has won at Texas Motor Speedway.
8 thousandths of a second.
It's a pretty simple recipe. Just put Indy cars on the Texas Motor Speedway and you are going to get excitement. You are going to get action, that is for sure. Now, we've got something new for you. We've got a new competition that we're all going to enjoy over some 6 rounds with the winner to be determined a little later on this year, where $25,000 will go to the charity of the driver's choice. It's drivers and it's cooking. And with thanks to Butterball, they're going to put up that money. This is a fun new segment. It's What You Cooking with Ryan Hunter-Reay first up.
Hey guys, welcome to my house here in Fort Lauderdale. So it's probably no shock to you guys, but we cook a lot of Butterball turkey around here. I thought for this competition it'd be a great opportunity to go to my favorite, which is a Thanksgiving leftover sandwich. It's so simple, even I can do it. First thing we need to do is make some more stuffing. All right, as my boss, Michael Andretti, would say, it's time to bring the heat. I have my crumbled cornbread here. Now it's time to add the sauteed onions in there, the celery, and then turkey stock. Go for the turkey here, some mayo. Got to be generous with this sandwich. It's more of a experience. It's not a meal, it's an experience. I don't like to go too heavy on this stuff. I don't know why. It's one of those things like bread that's too thick on a sandwich just overwhelms it. And then we want to add stuffing, end up just grabbing it. Go for the turkey pieces here. All right, now to put the finishing touches on here. Lettuce. The judges don't love this, they just don't know good home cooking. This is gonna be amazing.
And welcome to round number 1 of What You Cookin' with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Kelly Stavis is here, and we're the judges. And by the way, we're going to be accepting bribes. This is the first of 6 rounds, 25 grand. We'll have a finalist round coming up by the end of the season. First of all, I got it. And Kelly's going to go and get started.
So
go ahead
I'm just here for the
take
food.
your sample. You mentioned Thanksgiving. I'm not eating a sandwich from November, am I?
You're not. You know, when we came up with this, it's like, what's the best meal of the whole year, right? It's Thanksgiving with your family, right, and friends. And what's next best, or actually better than that, is Thanksgiving leftovers. So this is fresh. You're gonna love it because we already talked this through. You're gonna love it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I threw this together. I was a little rushed coming out to the grid, getting my suit on. Kind of threw the sandwich together. So I hope you like it.
I saw your house. Can I come over for Thanksgiving?
Anytime, man. Anytime. As long as you give me a good score on this. You're welcome.
All right.
Yeah.
I can take my sample
If
now.
I'm going to eat on camera, it's only fair that you take
First
a bite
time eating on national
camera as well.
television. Okay.
Now, Paul Tracy last night was wondering how you prefer to cook your turkey at Thanksgiving. Do you deep fry it? That's his preferred method.
I would love to try that at some point. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds great, but no, haven't got that bold yet with it. And I don't know about me with a deep fryer out in the backyard dipping this big bird in there. So, but no, you guys like it, Butterball?
You know what? It's
good.
the first time I've had
good.
mayonnaise in about 10 years, but it was good. It was a nice touch.
So I'm
just the
torn
right
on,
amount.
I'm torn on the scoring because he is the Butterball rep, and I want to help him out. But we need room to see if somebody is really going to knock us away. So,
listen, I wanted to give it a 10, but there was canned cranberry. Sorry,
canned
Ryan.
Cranberry, no.
I'm going higher. I'm going 9 for the guy who got a win last week. What's that do for you coming in to this week?
Well, the win or the voting on a sandwich?
Both. Is this going to be what spurs you to victory?
Actually, this is special for me to get a 9 on this, and thank you for the 8. I understand canned cranberries. We can only go so far with that. We only had so much to put this thing together at the track, but the win last week in Detroit was awesome. The team needed it. I needed it. You know, DHL, Auto Nation, and especially Butterball. We all really needed it. But to win it in that fashion, to come back from, I watched the broadcast, and the guys were kind of saying, hey, there's no way he's going to catch him. It's not going to happen. And that's what we do. We never give up.
All right. Congratulations on a win and a 9, round 1 of What You Cooking. Stay tuned for more, Lee.
Absolutely, Kevo. Yeah, RHR with the Thanksgiving-style Butterball turkey sandwich. It looked good. Looked really good. Can't wait for the next round. Whenever you win an Indianapolis 500, everybody wants to know your story. And when we come back, Robin Miller tells the story of that man right there, Will Power of Team Penske. When we come back to IndyCar Live.
You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon, the best network and the best unlimited.
The sun starting to set on Texas Motor Speedway, where we'll see the temperatures get cooler and the lights come into effect for tonight's 9th round of the series. As we all know, 2 weeks ago was the Indianapolis 500. The 102 editions of the greatest spectacle in racing have produced some 72 different winners, Will Power being the latest. It took Will more than a decade to do it, and many wondered, including himself, if it ever actually would. But as Robin Miller now tells us, the most intense driver in IndyCar racing can now rest easy.
10 years ago, Will Power was anti-oval track racing, and for good reason. Despite his prowess at road racing and his ability to win pole positions with blistering laps, he simply couldn't get the hang of turning left all day. He lost the 2010 IndyCar Championship by 5 points in the season finale when he crashed at Homestead, and turned in a repeat performance in 2012 after hitting the wall at Fontana and losing the title by 3 points. For whatever reason, the aggressive Aussie couldn't come to grips with the heritage of IndyCar racing and almost seemed to be beaten before the green flag. Then things clicked as Power went from loathing to loving ovals. Finally got over that hump in 2013 with a victory at Fontana.
It's the most satisfying win of my life. That is the most satisfying thing I've ever done.
He came back to score his first IndyCar title in 2014 with another triumph at the Milwaukee Mile. He added wins at Pocono to his resume and narrowly lost the 2015 Indy 500 to teammate Juan Montoya. But for a guy constantly doubting himself and going sleepless worried about the future, Indianapolis played heavy on his mind because it's the only race that matters to Roger Penske. All of Will's wins, poles, and laps led didn't mean anything, as long as it didn't include a trip to Victory Lane at IMS. Then last month, Power delivered. He led 59 laps and held off pole sitter Ed Carpenter to give the captain his 17th Indy win and give himself some job security. And after his jubilant celebration, he confessed that ovals had become his favorite discipline, and he felt like he could win any of them. And it seemed like his competitors were just as happy for the winningest driver of the past decade. Last year's winner, Takuma Sato, congratulated him in Victory Lane, while Ryan Hunter-Reay, Graham Rahal, and Alex Rossi walked out on the track to salute him after his victory lap in the pace car. They all knew how good a racer he's been, but they also understood this was the only win that really matters.
Okay, well, you've always been fast, you've always been fearless, you've always been a winner. What tripped the switch on ovals to make you go from hating them to liking them?
Just experience, just miles. You know, it takes a long time to become good on an oval because obviously a mistake means you're hitting the wall. And yeah, you can't beat experience. Honestly, you know, I get on top of the car so quickly these days and understand what direction needs to go in and really understand the feel of it.
How cool was it when Dario came down to Victory Lane, Takuma Sato, Graham Rahal, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Rossi came out and gave you the thumbs up after the pace car ride?
Yeah, I have to say that was one of the highlights of winning that race was when those guys came out to congratulate me. You know, 3 guys on the front stretch, Graham, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Rossi, and Oriel Servia, and Dario in Victory Lane, and same with Sato. I mean, that means a lot to me, and they're all guys I have tremendous respect for.
All right, what's tonight going to hold? You're going to kick everybody's butt, or is it going to be a tough race?
It's going to be a tough race, a lot of fast cars out there, and I think it's going to grip up a lot as soon as the sun goes down because the track temp means a lot. and then it might become a bit more like last year.
So the slowest guy that goes the fastest could win it?
The slowest guy goes the fastest, yes, maybe. That would happen last year. Like if you just hung out the back, you're going to finish in a good position. So.
All right, good luck tonight, kid. Lee?
It's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful story, isn't it? Thanks so much for watching IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon. We've got 248 laps around Texas Motor Speedway under the lights coming up. Don't go anywhere.
Bring it up. Checkered flag. Power and Penske win it.
Yes, gotta be raced back.
Will Power used to dread racing on ovals, but 2 weeks ago, with his win at the Indianapolis 500, the Aussie captured the most prestigious oval race in the world. The 2014 Series champion also took over the points lead and comes to the next oval on the schedule here at Texas as the defending winner. If he can repeat what he did in Indy, Power very well could use tonight's race under the lights to move the championship closer to lights out. But a pair of teammates know a thing or two about winning championships and hope to hold Power in check from the front row. This Penske trio have won 3 of the last 4 IndyCar titles, and tonight's race could have a major impact on this season's as well. All around the Verizon IndyCar Series as we prepare for the DXC Technology 600 Round 9 of the Verizon IndyCar Series. The weather is good. It's warm, but no worries. It's going to get a little cooler as we go into the evening here. And a really quite cool and unique way of delivering the green flag. DXC Technology and their drone technology, kind of doing something different.
I think Paul gets pizzas delivered that way in Scottsdale.
A nice way to do some sponsor activation. And by the way, DXC Technology is a Texas-based company, so nice little way to incorporate that into the show as we are moments away from getting things fired up, getting things rolling, and let's get this racing happening. And there's a lot of people who will be looking forward to a rest at the end of tonight's 248 laps with a weekend off next weekend. Let's go down trackside for the command. Here we go.
No Limits Texas, are you ready? It is the reason that we are here. Please welcome your Grand Marshal, Director of Global Operations and Sponsorship Marketing and Communications for DXC Technology, Candy Lamar.
Drivers, start your engines!
So the theme of tonight is pace yourself early. Let's learn a lot about what the tires are doing. How is the track responding? What is my car doing? And hang in there and be there in those final 50-odd laps. Let's go down to pit road and kick things off with Kelly.
Well, with the second pole position of the season, Josef Newgarden sits at the front of the grid here at pit exit. But when he comes back for service, he'll be at the opposite end of pit lane. Unfamiliar territory after a disappointing qualifying last week. That's typically a disadvantage because you're dealing with traffic getting in and out of your pit box. Well, Josef told me he loves his pit spot. There's an opening leading into it. He's got plenty of room to exit and doesn't think it'll be a factor tonight, Marty.
Kelly, think about the last month and a half for Will Power. After a disappointing race at Barber, he was 10th in the championship standings. And he told me after that race, he said, I'm more determined than ever to turn my season around. Since then, he swept the month of May at Indianapolis. He finished 7th and 2nd at Detroit. And he told me 100% of my focus now is on the championship. And that begins, Kevin, tonight by winning at Texas again.
Marty, Ryan Hunter-Reay is coming off one of the most impressive drives we've seen in a long time, stalking Alexander Rossi and winning at Detroit. Now, for this one tonight, 1, he's very much back in the championship mix. 2, it's the beginning of this race. Ray Gosselin, his engineer, said, we think we're pretty good, but I'm so curious to see how things are going to turn out. This first stint is going to be critical. Robin?
Jay Foyt hasn't won a race since 2014. Neither is his driver, Tony Kanaan. He won at Fontana in 2014. This year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they may have had the car to beat. He took the lead, got a flat tire, screwed up his whole race. He's been one of the fastest cars every practice session this time, and guess what? This is AJ Foyt's home track. Last year, Tony Khan was 2 laps down, came all the way back to finish second. He's somebody to watch tonight, Lee.
Robin, that is a wonderful lead-in because Tony has had 9 podium finishes here at Texas Motor Speedway. He says this just suits me. As we roll through the starting grid at the top of your screen, let's show you what kind of onboards we're going to get tonight. This is a cool one from Graham Rahal with thanks to Fleet Cost and Care. And we'll watch Graham as he comes back through the field. Hopefully, he's a long way back. The relay onboard. This is Zach Veach in the Group 1001 Andretti Autosport car. So we'll look forward to seeing that as the Speedway gets bathed in light when the lights come on. James Hinchcliffe will give us this view with thanks to Lucas Oil, and Hinch has some work to do. He's starting a lot further back than where he would like to be. And you may remember earlier I mentioned that Marco Andretti is carrying our Verizon streaming camera, and you can go inside IndyCar all season long by downloading IndyCar Mobile exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. We'll look forward to checking in with Marco on that. PNC Bank gives us this view of Scott Dixon. Will be a player, will be a contender tonight. He's won here twice. He's looking for that 3rd win. And another on board, the DXC Technology car, but this is the view with thanks to Verizon. It's Simon Pagenaud who is starting at the front of this pack alongside his pole sitting and pole winning teammate Josef Newgarden, who's looking to get things going. I think one of the fabulous things about Texas is it always gives us that unknown. Here we go, racing into the night. And what will happen? Who can hang in there? Who's going to play this race the smartest? In the DXC Technology 600. As the 2 Penske teammates on the front row enter the start zone. Josef Newgarden will see that green first. Lights, camera, action. Let's get rolling here in Texas.
That was a great super pack up. Now watch the high side. Rossi says he's going high. We know Marco's going to try to go high. Look at Hunter Ray up on the high side.
And very clean start. They're just playing it very sensibly. Alexander Rossi on the high side in that yellow and blue Andretti car. Around Sebastian Bourdais. Here comes Hinch. Gabby Chavez is in the mix.
Gabby Chavez and Spencer Piggott in the green car going very big and bold on the start. 3 wide, up high off turn 4. And it looks like the drivers were tiptoeing a bit on the start as they try to get a feel for the temperature. 109 on the front stretch. It's about 135 in turn 2 in the sunlight.
Rossi right now is carving through the field. He just passed both Kanaan and Dixon on that lap. Kanaan looked like he almost touched the wall. He was really high in 2. Rossi was down on the inside of him, but now they've gotten settled in their single file with Newgarden leading over his teammates.
Keep an eye out for that Lucas Oil number 6. It's kind of maroon purple color. Robert Wickens for the Schmidt-Peterson entry. The Canadian has made up 2 spots since the green flew.
What, he's doing such an amazing job, Townsend. I can't help but think that Hinchcliffe has got to be feeling a little bit of pressure by the performance of his teammate.
Yeah, there we see Wickens solidly in 4th and learning quickly as he tracks down Will Power, and he's staying awfully close. That's impressive that he can run that tight.
He's coming by, he's looking. So Will Power struggling a little bit here as the temperature right now still hot, sun on half the track.
Now, Robert Wickens said that he had a manufacturer test here, Marty, and that made a big difference because it's the first oval he's come to with some level of experience.
Hey, you know what's funny, Lee, is he's still moving up to the field, and he told me, I'm honestly not comfortable at these big ovals. As he looks to the outside of Will Power, he's pretty comfortable there. He's going to make that pass on the outside. How impressive. But he told me, Townsend, he said the tires are just so hard at these big ovals. I don't know how to read the car. He said, that's where I feel like my deficit is. It's more of a knowledge thing than it is a bravery thing.
Well, I don't think he lacks for very much knowledge because he's such a fast learner. He seems right up in the mix as Rossi tries to challenge the back of Wickens. And I'll tell you what's tough, Paul. You go to the outside of Will Power like Wickens does, and there comes Kanaan to the outside. And somebody's on fire.
On fire.
Matthias Leist.
But I'll tell you what I've just noticed. Oh, big fire here. He's jumping out fast.
That's a fuel line.
Get out, get out, get out.
As soon as cars get side by side, there's a huge hole in it. See how fast Tony Kanaan sucked up on those cars?
Not as fast as his teammate just got out of the car. Thank goodness he was able to wiggle his way out. Sometimes a little more difficult.
That
thing's going to be bye-bye.
No safety car there yet, which is rare. So that car is literally going to burn to the ground.
This is the Brazilian rookie who says he's learning as fast as he can, and having a teammate like Tony Kanaan has been such a big advantage. What a frightening scene, and he was able to extract himself out of that AJ Foyt car very quickly.
Not a ton of urgency by the safety guys here. They're kind of got those little small canisters there, but that's a hard spot for the safety crew to get to. We're right in the middle of 1 and 2, almost at the pit lane exit, or 3 and 4, sorry. And
looks like they got it out.
Kind of a hard spot for our
very
cameras
uncommon to see a car light up like that. Looks like he might have lost power, perhaps. Wonder if it was a fuel line going loose, Paul, and lost fuel pressure to the motor. You can see the flames just start to tickle out the right-hand side, and then it just lights off.
You got to remember, before you see the flames on the outside of the car, there's probably a good-sized fire underneath the bodywork that's burning oil lines. And so once, I mean, that's a big, big fire. Rarely ever see a fire that big. Whoa.
Yeah, he's starting to feel it.
He was definitely feeling the flames come, because the wind's blowing in that direction down the back straightaway. So the flames were like kind of blowing around onto the cockpit.
He got out of there at the speed of a 19-year-old, didn't he?
Well, you remember a few years back when Simona Di Silvestro struggled to get herself free. She just had too much interference with the head padding and the head surround, and it's nice to see him get out so quick. Very uncommon.
Spencer Piggott is one of 2 cars, one of 3 cars to decide to come to pit road, as the AJ Foyt car will be removed from that area of the track. And we'll go back racing here in Texas momentarily. Let's check in with Kelly. Kel, what you got?
Matheus Leist, who's made his way back to the pit stall. A lot of flames in a hurry. What was your experience there in the cockpit?
Yeah, actually we just lost power in turn 1, and then I just parked the car and suddenly just catch up on fire. So we still don't know what happened, and fortunately it's a pity for the team. I feel for the team too. I think we had a great car for the race, so it is what it is. Looking forward to the next one now.
All right, the team told me the data burned up too quickly, so they really don't know what happened, Lee.
And there's Larry Foyt. Oh boy, that was a frightening moment for them, but with somewhat pleasing outcome, Matheus Leist, the teenager, okay. Are you ready to go back racing? We certainly are. Let's get ready to go again. It's Penske, 1, 2, 3. Robert Wickens, then Alexander Rossi. Let's go here in Texas.
I tell you what, Pagenaud was ready to go. He was right up the back bumper of Newgarden. But look at Will Power. Big run down into 1, and now he's going to get a run on his teammate.
Pagenaud sort of checked up mid-corner to get back down to the inside line, checked up the rest of the field. He'll defend to the inside.
We had talked a lot about blocking, defending. We saw Pagenaud there pull out of the line that everybody was in the slipstream to protect the inside on Wickens. So we're really going to have to keep a close eye on those kind of moves tonight as the racing gets more side by side.
And I think for a lot of the drivers, Paul, they're going to have to wait until the sun gets below the grandstands, because it's still bright on the back straight at the exit of turn 2. That track temp still probably 130 on the backside, down to about 105 on the front side. So once the sun goes down, I think you'll have more grip outside of turn 2.
Alexander Rossi running in the top 5 in that Napa Auto Parts Andretti Autosport machine. Take you back just a few moments ago. Have a listen to this radio transmission.
How to move your lift later entering 1. Just explain to me the reasoning. I just was noticing Kanaan was catching you there each time coming in, and he was able to make that move because we were lifting early. He was able to dive in there, so. Copy. Nice job, nice job.
Well, that really just says, Townsend, that they're still right away. They were trying to save some fuel. He was lifting going into the turns, and Kanaan was getting a run on him. So right now they're just working on some fuel mileage and just kind of riding right now. But
PNC Bank on board for Scott Dixon, winner of race 1 in Detroit last week.
We stay on this in-car here with Dixon. You can hear the lift. He shifts down the backstone. Listen. Flat through 3 and 4.
This where he was so strong last night was through 3 and 4. Could get a really nice run on people. Let's see if he gets close enough to Kanaan. Not quite. He'll back out of it and
save
fuel.
the back out way early, like almost just past the start-finish line. He got out of it, coasted all the way into the corner.
Hey, and Paul Townsend mentioned a moment ago that you're going to see a lot of drivers maybe take it easy here early in the run when the track grip goes up. They're certainly going to be able to turn much quicker laps, so some drivers being conservative here. One of them, Scott Dixon, he told me first 15 laps of a run, he wants to be very easy on the tires. He doesn't want to push it. But there's another school of thought with the Penske cars up front. They think, hey, we're some of the fastest cars. We're going to go as hard as we can early, try and take people out of the game. So a lot of different schools of thought of how you approach the early part of this race, Townsend.
Well, I like how racy some guys have been early on, and I think some of these Hondas are going to continue to get stronger, like Zach Veach, who's our biggest mover of the race. He's going to get another one here on the front stretch. That's Sato. Takuma Sato to the inside. Veach goes to the outside. That's up 6 positions from his starting position.
So already, this is really positive. Already we're seeing, I think, considerably more passing than what we would see at this early stage. Zach has made up 5 positions, make it 6 now with that one move. 6 since the original start of the race.
And this is the kind of aggression I've been waiting to see from Veach. He really sort of bit his time at the beginning of the season and took it easy, made sure he built up some equity with his team. And now he's starting to really charge hard, Paul.
I tell you what, this is actually a very physical track here. The high banking and the speeds. Whoa, had to get out of it there, but he's a really, really tiny guy, so he's surprisingly strong for how small he is.
Guess what, PT? He also said, you know, he'd never been here except for the 2-seater, but he immediately liked the way the car fell underneath him, and he said, you know what? I might be more aggressive than people think at the start of this race. I'd say he's keeping his promise.
Alexander Rossi around Robert Wickens. That was a move for 4th, and a convincing one. And now here comes Kanaan back. Look to the right-hand side of your screen. Kanaan's got a run on Scott Dixon.
We'll see if this can stick. It's a nice big run, but nowhere to go once you get to the exit at 2. The guys are losing grip there, and I think very wise from Tony Kanaan to back out of it, throttle a little bit. He'll get plenty of other chances down the road.
And these former teammates at Ganassi, who are both, by the way, heading off around noon tomorrow to head to Le Mans, France for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, along with their Ganassi teammate, Sébastien Bourdais, they both had opposing views of tonight's race. Tony said, we can't get close. I don't think this one's going to be all that entertaining. Scott Dixon said, I disagree. I moved around people last night in practice, and I'm pretty sure I saw you do it too, Tony. So I think we're going to have quite a good race.
I had a talk with Dixon this morning. We were in the gym working out, and I said, are you ready for Le Mans? I said, are you flying private with a whole bunch of guys? And he goes, nah, I don't really like flying private. Plane gets too crowded. He goes, I'd rather fly alone, get some meal service, have a nice sleep, and then get there and be on my own program.
Ryan Hunter-Ray.
Kanaan's coming in. I just saw him peel off for no reason there.
So the Detroit performance from this guy was amazing. And he said a little earlier when he was speaking with Kelly, and as we see Tony Kanaan come in, just how determined he was to win.
Something broke in the suspension. Tough night for AJ Foyt. One car out with a fire, and now a random, and he's pointing to the right rear, it looks like.
Yeah, I saw him peel off real quick, like violently over to the inside.
But look at his right rear. There's contact there. There's a big donut, or at least the Firestone logos are gone off the right rear. So Tony Kanaan must have gotten up into the fence at some point.
Pointing down at the suspension, so he's probably got a bent toe link or a broken toe link. He must have brushed the wall at some point.
Meanwhile, Alexander Rossi continues to carve his way closer and closer to the front. He's now got a much better view of the 3 Penskes in the top 3 positions. Josef Newgarden, Will Power, Simon Pagenaud.
Tell you, Simon Pagenaud had a really tough start to the season. Fast at Long Beach on the front row, taken out in the first corner by Graham Rahal. then fast again at Indianapolis on the front row. Didn't convert to points as much as he would like, but now he's quietly kind of soldiered up into the top 10 in points. The cars have been fast. I don't get the sense that he's particularly worried. There's not a lot of anxiety there, anxiousness out of Pagenaud. He's just settled in. I expect him to have a great night tonight.
There's the Kanaan tire.
Yeah, definitely rubbed the wall for sure. So bad night for the AJ Foyt guys tonight. They were looking very promising in practice, and it's all gone sideways for them in the first quarter of the race.
I think we found it here with Tony Kanaan exiting turn 2. That's it. Great job by the replay team to find that. Just got up and kissed the wall. You wouldn't think that would bend the toe link, but clearly it wasn't manageable.
I don't know. I mean, barely touched it, but it looked like something had broken.
Kel?
Tony Kanaan still sitting behind the wheel of his 14 car, and as he's sitting here over the radio, he said he thought he brushed the wall, but that something happened before that to cause him to brush the wall, and then he said something just snapped. We saw those tires. They didn't look to be the issue, Marty.
Kelly, you see top left, we're now 34 laps into this race. The battle up front with Alexander Rossi trying to get the 3rd position, but Firestone and IndyCar told teams midweek, listen, we're going to mandate that you must scuff a minimum of 4 sets of tires. Those teams had to start on scuffed tires, and they have to, in the first 3 stops tonight, put on scuffed tires. There were tire concerns here last year. They do not want to have that again here this year at Texas. Right now up front, Josef Newgarden trying to win here at Texas. Penske 1, 2, 3 early at Texas.
A reminder that tomorrow, Rafael Nadal, the king of clay, looks to win his record 11th French Open title when he takes on Dominic Thiem. French Open men's final tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern on NBC. It's part of the NBC Sports Championship season presented by Canada Dry, Ginger Ale and Lemonade. Wow, what a weekend it could be with Justify having won the Triple Crown in the Belmont Stakes. We've got IndyCar racing here, French Open final tomorrow, and we've got some racing, some fast racing at 215 miles an hour. Alexander Rossi tried the move on Simon Pagenaud and then thought twice.
And you can see the sun disappearing behind the main grandstand, just on the back straightaway for a bit. Now the grip's starting to come up as they'll get into the shaded sections of the track, and Alexander Rossi looking very racy as the track starts to cool down.
Looked like they just passed by Tony Kanaan, who's back on track again, 12 laps down, but he might be heading back for the pits as we see Will Power here.
Gabby Chavez coming to pit lane. That's only lap 43. That's earlier than I think anybody will want to pit, especially you don't want to get caught out pitting under green. If you do catch a yellow, you want to stay out. They took a lot of front wing out, so I wonder if Gabby Chavez just too loose on the racetrack and he needed help from pit lane.
Yeah, Rossi right now has definitely got a really racy car. He's pushing it and looking up the outside, so he's got another run now coming off of turn 2.
But he's got a run on Will Power. It's not Simon Pagenaud this time, and gets by the Penske, the Verizon Chevrolet, convincingly.
It's up to 3rd now. Pagenaud just up the road in front of him, chasing Newgarden. So Rossi has moved his way up from his 6th or 7th position all the way up into the top 3.
What did we talk about before, guys? We're somewhere around 55 to 60 on fuel.
And just starting to catch lap traffic. I think that's Max Chilton that Pagenaud just went around. And I think, yeah, go back to your question, 55 to 60 is the window. Will Power getting checked up by Chilton now. Here comes Wickens, Scott Dixon. There goes Hunter Ray.
Whoa.
But Hunter Ray has nowhere to go because that's the lap car of Chilton, and Hunter Ray just,
Beach.
He nurses it back down. There's Hunter Ray, his teammate, to the outside. There's a whole gaggle coming to 3.
Easy, easy, boys. There are 3 wide, Hinchcliffe in the middle of the sandwich on Bourdais. Bourdais backs out of it.
That was not looking good for a second.
Here comes Marco Andretti right behind Charlie Kimball as Max Chilton got shoved up high.
I thought these guys said we weren't going to have good racing tonight.
Well, thanks to lap traffic, we do, and I think we're going to see a lot of that as the night goes on. There's the comers and goers.
Boy, Zach Veach arrived on the scene like he was escaping from a bank robbery. That was amazing. Great drive.
He's got a nice clear road now in front of him. And slick moves in all those lap car and getting by all those cars in one shot. So
a great handling car, Paul. I mean, down in turn 1 with clean air, it looked really steady and predictable. That's what you want over a long run. Let's watch Veach here on the left-hand side. Has a nice run on Hunter Ray. Squeezes it up, a little wiggle at the exit. Now everybody's getting checked up down low, and he's going to go flying on by until he reaches Chilton. And then, excuse me, pardon me, I want to get back down to the low line.
Everybody tippy-toed around there. Hey, guys, here we go. It's already started. Kyle, as we watch this replay, Kyle Novak, the race director, flagged this at the drivers' meeting a little earlier today. He said, we will not put up with any blocking, and Chavez has already been given a drive-through for blocking. Marty.
Yeah, Jeff, they're going to be swift on the blocking call today. But how about Zach Veach plus 10 since the start of the race? And he said, you know, last week at Detroit, very physical racetrack. I blame myself. He said, you mentioned earlier, PT, one of the smaller guys in the paddock, right? He said, I physically was not ready for a race like that. But at a place like Texas, I can keep up. Certainly very impressive so far for the young man as we ride on board with him right now. His teammate, Alexander Rossi, said, I'm going to try the high line. He hasn't been able to make it work, but this young rookie's been able to make it work tonight, Lee.
That's fantastic. There's the Firestone Telemetry at the bottom of your screen. And remember that fabulous 4th place that he scored at Barber Motorsports Park. That really lifted his spirit. Said, now, okay, I'm in the game. Here we go.
As we see Sebastian Bourdais coming in to make his first pit stop of the evening, really pleased with his qualifying effort. They've been really happy with the performance of this 18. It's going to be 4 of those scrub tires, as Marty said, and you see a wing adjustment there. They have to start with the scrubbed tires these first 3 pit stops.
That section that we were telling you about during IndyCar Live at the top of the broadcast, where the drivers have to stay at 60 miles an hour. This is an agonizing wait all the way around here until they get with an entrance to the back chute.
And Bourdais, it's just painful as a racing driver. The guys on track are going 215, 220. He'll lose almost 2 laps. Now he can gas it at that yellow line and try to blend back up. So if he yells...
Back, 10, 5, 2, outside, clear plus 20.
And that's where it's so dicey. You absolutely rely on every word your spotter's telling you, because the cars are coming at speed and you're still not up to speed even by the time you get to turn 1. So Bourdais goes 2 laps down. Now if a yellow comes out right now, it's devastating for Sebastian Bourdais, but everybody's going to have to cycle through the pits in the next 5 laps or so.
Back to the front. The leaders here were just on board a second ago with Marco Andretti. The Andretti cars, all 4 cars are in the top 12, so they're having a good night tonight. Rossi, oh, look at Wickens.
Wickens on power. Straight up the inside, so that's another one lost to Will Power, which will be somewhat mystifying to him. He felt he had a really strong car in qualifying yesterday. It got on the hard limit, though, on the limiter, and that affected him. It cost him, not sure how much in miles per hour, but he felt he could have had a shot at the pole.
More lapped cars for the leaders now, and Rossi now has closed that gap to Pagenaud and the leaders. So now they're coming up on more lapped cars. Let's see if Rossi can keep pushing forward.
And guys, Will Power struggling, as you mentioned, Lee, just a moment ago. Roger Penske asked him, do you want a front wing adjustment? He said, yes, 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 please. And then he said, how many laps until we pit? They told him 7 to 8 laps. So for these leaders out front right now, about 6 to 7, 8 laps, Kelly, before they come in. Kevin?
And Marty, we are seeing potentially different strategies coming in. They're getting better fuel mileage than the last year, and the drop off the tires comes pretty quickly, but then it has been leveling out. That was the thinking as we watch Rossi trying to go around the outside, side by side for second with Simon Pagenaud. Pagenaud hangs on to it for now. There is a chance someone can do it on 3 stops because they're already getting to that limit right now. The matter is, can you hang on to the tires to the end of that stint?
Committing to pit lane is the race leader, Josef Newgarden. So here we go. Lap 59. Race leader heading in for his first service.
Now we see Josef Newgarden making his way down pit road. He started on poles, led every lap of this race, and as you imagine, he's pretty happy with that one car. He said it was pretty good to start, had just a little bit of understeer, but called for no changes. It's just 4 fresh tires.
Leaders are running a couple more laps than the the leader. But the guy who's making the move now is Robert Wickens. Now he's getting more and more comfortable. Look, right on the back of Rossi now, moving forward up to him.
The total nature of this race is changing as the daylight is now gone. It is completely shaded all throughout as we go into night. And the Andretti Honda, the Schmidt-Peterson Honda of Wickens, Andretti Honda of Rossi, they're coming alive right now. And I'll tell you what, if we have a lot of green flag running like this, the in-lap here at Texas, which is treacherous on that apron through 3 and 4, that's what's going to decide the running order on these green flag stops.
I'll tell you what you don't want to happen is now that these leaders are a couple laps down, as we see Pagenaud peels off. So for sure, the Chevys are getting worse fuel mileage than the Hondas. Hondas remain on track.
Here's Ed Carpenter in the Fuzzy's Vodka Chevrolet. Was very excited to get back on the oval after finishing runner-up at the Indy 500 2 weeks ago. Kev.
Simon Pagenaud started second for the 3rd time on an oval this season. He's the leader right now. He comes in after his first stop. He's one of those that told me, I think by the time it gets dark, this race is going to get really good. We're starting to see some signs of that. Smooth stop for Pagenaud, Marty.
2017 Texas winner Will Power leaving his pit stall with those scuffed tires. They made a massive wing adjustment trying to get that car to handle a lot better. He lost a ton of spots, especially at the end of the run, Kevin.
Ryan Hunter-Reay coming in. He's made up a couple of spots, 3 spots before pit started to cycle in. Hunter-Reay felt pretty good about how the car was in practice last night. Not so good during the afternoon on Friday, trying to tune it to their liking. Not much in the way of adjustments that we can see that time. Hunter-Reay is back out.
You can see Takuma Sato there for the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan team, and then behind is Marco Andretti. So everybody coming in for their respective services.
Top 7 cars right now on track are all Hondas based on better fuel mileage right now. These leaders are still out there not coming, and Rossi's still going.
Still trying to navigate too by Ed Jones, who ran into a little problem earlier. Here's Zach Veach and Scott Dixon side by side on pit lane.
And you see those guys coming down pit road. Scott Dixon, the master, able to pass Zach Veach, actually coming to pit road. They asked Zach Veach, do you want any changes to the car? He said, no. So it's going to be 4 sticker tires, and that's it. Although they do make a very slight wing adjustment there for Scott Dixon. Very quiet on the radio. He's very happy with the car. Again, sort of their strategy, kind of be patient here early in the race. And this is the experience of Scott Dixon, the Iceman, coming to pit road lead. Look at that. Able to get to pit road quicker. That is key. That's how you make up time right there.
Perfect.
Robert Wickens also on pit road. He said his car very free, especially early in the run. 4 sticker tires for him as well, and an air pressure adjustment trying to help him out. And Alexander Rossi now coming down pit road. He said his car, a lot of understeer, but that was hurting the rears, he felt like, the longer they were running, but clearly he was able to run up through the field. James Hinchcliffe also coming down pit road. For Rossi, it's going to be an air pressure adjustment and a half turn of front wing, but he's been able to make that high line work late in the run for those guys.
This is going to cycle Graham Rahal and Ed Jones to the front of this pack, but they are on a drastically different strategy. Spencer Pigot as well. There is the green car of Spencer Pigot. Scott Dixon rapidly approaching, but the top 3 in this race all pitted on lap 9.
Bourdais having none of Takuma Sato into the back straight. We'll have to see how that's reviewed. Spencer Pigot also having a checkup. And guys, it is huge as we see Alexander Rossi probably going to be in the right-hand corner of the screen here. There he is. Let's see where he blends out. There goes Wickens.
So that battle continued. Here comes Dixon. Dixon's going to have the superior speed as Rossi builds to speed. And Bourdais and Sato are at it again, down into 3.
That might be called as a block. He definitely moved over in a defensive manner to keep Sato behind him, and it really killed Sato's speed. Now he's got both of these 2 cars of Marco and Pigot all over the back of him.
Graham Rahal pits for the 2nd time. Last pitted on lap 9, Kev. So he's out of sequence with the guys at the front here.
And he has accomplished the goal that he wanted. He said before the race in the opening stint, I need to pick up 5 to 7 spots pretty quickly. He did that and then some. Pits from the lead here off sequence. No front wing adjustment. A little bit longer in the fuel, and Rahal is back
out. The fleet cost him care.
They're giving penalties out.
There you go. There's the first call. Might give us a little window into it. There'll be a penalty maybe coming for those altercations we saw on track. Ed Jones, same strategy as Graham Rahal and Spencer Piggott. So no surprise to see the NTT data car in.
Yeah, all those guys topped up on that first yellow at the back of the field. But I think it's really impressive that Rossi and some of the other Hondas able to go 67 laps along with Wickens on that first stint. They can keep up that kind of mileage. They can do this on 3 stops.
After all the pit stops shaked out, Pagenaud is in the lead by 2 seconds over his teammate. Power is back up to 3rd place. Penske guys are so fast at the pit lane. They've gapped Wickens, Dixon, and Rossi by almost 9 seconds.
This is Simon Pagenaud on teammate Josef Newgarden for the lead of the race.
Still there. Clear. Good job.
Graham Rahal, we're on board with him.
Whoa! Graham trying to get to pit lane. Veach staying out. Doesn't get much closer than that, boys.
And get ready for the next round of Sato v Bourdais. Here we go again. No report from race control about anything between these two just yet. And there's a watchful eye on the Firestone tires.
Those are in bad shape right there.
This summer, Dale Earnhardt Jr. joins the NBC NASCAR broadcast team. Same Dale, new view. And it all starts July 1st from Chicagoland. Looking forward to hearing Jr. on the call. And of course, he did pretty well here at Texas Motor Speedway, didn't he? Whether it be an Xfinity or Cup competition. Will Power on your left. Robert Wickens on the inside for Schmidt-Peterson. And the Canadian is able to execute that move very nicely.
You can't be more impressed than Robert Wickens. He's never been on a high bank track before, and he's up there racing with these Penske guys.
Racing and passing the Indy 500 winner, Will Power. And, you know, Wickens has been kind of playing off the fact, I don't really know what I'm doing. The guys are just telling me. And look at the close rate here on Newgarden. He just keeps learning, asking questions, doesn't say much, listens, and really puts everything to such good use.
Definitely on a feel-safe map.
Yeah, he's 0.6 of a second quicker than the leaders. He just ran a 23.9, and the leader's doing a 24.3 or 24.4. So
and he
look
just
at him close up.
He just reported, hey, these guys are on a fuel-save map. And remember, Wickens went 7 laps further on his first stint as he just masterfully arcs it around Newgarden. So I think the Chevy guys, the Penske guys, need to save some fuel because they pitted either when they had to or maybe a little earlier than they wanted to because of handling.
He is absolutely flying right now. Fastest car on track. See how fast he can close the gap down to Pagenaud, who's leading right now by 2.8 seconds.
And on this second stint, PT, there's Sam Schmidt, bottom right of your screen. The speeds are climbing. We were topped out at about 215 miles an hour on that opening stint. They're now approaching 220 miles an hour. Pagenaud's at 218, Wickens at 218, Will Power, Scott Dixon, they're all in the 219 mile an hour range. So speeds are growing as we go into the night here in Texas.
Hey Lee, we talked about the first set of tires that were going to come off for these cars, and you'll see the tires that came off of Will Power's car. They had blisters on the right front and the right rear. Now the concern for the drivers is they say they don't feel those blisters. Normally they would feel a vibration in the car. We've heard of a couple drivers talking about vibrations. Will Power never said anything about a vibration in the car. So they went a full fuel run. They were scuffed tires. That was the prevention measure that IndyCar and Firestone put in place so we wouldn't see blisters, but there were indeed significant blisters on Will Power's right front and right rear when he pulled them off the car. Kevin?
Kerry Adams is the chief engineer for Firestone. So after one stint, some two, what are you hearing about the Firestones?
We've got engineers and technicians working with every couple of cars. We've seen some blistering on some cars. Not all cars are blistering, but we're monitoring the situation closely.
What causes that? And then when it's happening, how do you deal with it?
There's a lot of heat and a lot of work going into the outside tires after the repave last year. It's added a lot of work to the right side tires. We brought a softer compound, but it's not wearing in the evening conditions like this.
All things considered, though, we seem to be in pretty decent shape.
Yeah, we looked at a lot of tires after yesterday's practice session. We saw a good deal of blistering there. What we see here is about the same or maybe a little bit improved over what we saw yesterday.
Great, thank you, Kara.
So that's good signs if Kara feels as though it's better than last night.
And guys, look at this. Look at the onboard. Look at the lines that are forming here on the right front for Pagenaud, and that's probably one or several small blisters. And at 200 miles an hour with the rotation, it forms almost like grooves, Paul, but they're very well defined now. You can see him just raised there, and I wonder what Pagenaud's thinking as he's rocketing around here.
I can tell you what he's thinking. Wickens is closing in on me because now he's down to 1.8 seconds. It was 3 seconds literally 5 laps ago. So we see 2 sets of blisters on the inside and the outside of the Penske cars.
And Kelly reported earlier that some drivers are saying that they do feel it, some slight vibration. Simon Pagenaud is one of those guys who said, I don't feel it. And Sebastian Bourdais said, what? You don't feel it? Well, I guess that's good for you, but I certainly feel it.
Oh, little slide coming off of 4 for Dixon. Got a little bit loose coming off.
It's the battle for 4th. And you can see Dixon sliding around, and Veach is off pace. Apparently had some problems. He's got big blisters on his right front.
Hey guys, he just said, I hit the wall, something broke. So Zach Veach with an incredible early run. Looks like it's going to come to an early end here in Texas.
That's a real shame for the rookie driver. Let's see what goes on here. Just high off of 2, a lot like Kanaan.
Yeah.
And he just kissed the wall just like Kanaan. And Paul, you pointed out not much.
Look at the understeer, though. Let's see how much steering lock he has in the car. And he's pushing, and he just ran out of real estate. The track, coming off of 2, it flattens out so fast, and if you've got a big push in the car and that banking falls off, you're just automatically, the front takes off into the wall, and he barely kissed it, but I will guarantee it's the same thing as Kanaan. He's going to have a bent toe link in the rear, and it's going to cost him a lot of laps.
And there is a new leader. Check this out. Robert Wickens in the Lucas Honda for Schmidt-Peterson sweeps around Simon Pagenaud and says, I'll go all the way to the front.
Oh, big problems there for Will Power, really off the pace.
I think that was Newgarden.
Yeah, they flew right by him. Yeah, he's off pace now.
Tell us more, Cal.
Just a moment ago, Josef Newgarden saying that he thinks he has a tire coming down, so they immediately told him to come in. It was several laps ago that he started to report a mild vibration, and now he says he thinks he has a tire coming down. They're not taking any chances. Tim Cindric called him down pit road immediately. They've got another set of these scuffed Firestone tires laid out. He also said he had a bit of an understeer in the #1 car. I don't see a wing adjustment. And they'll send him back out.
Yeah, he had a lot of blistering, Townsend, on that right front. 2 distinct grooves in it. And man, it wasn't the last time that we were on air in Barber. It looked like he was going to romp his way to the championship. And through May and now into June, everything is unraveling for him.
Had a tough run at Detroit, but I think for all the Penske cars, look at the replay
at that tire,
of the right
came
front.
apart. You can see all the lines all the way here. All these lines, huge chunks of rubber gone out of that front tire.
That's bizarre. Never seen anything like that.
Great call by Newgarden to come in. You keep running on that, it will go down and you will end up in the wall. So that's championship thinking, even though it has cost him a couple laps.
He did have some tire issues here last year as well, Josef Newgarden. Meanwhile, no such issues for the man out in front, the Canadian. First season in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Could he be driving towards his first victory? Robert Wickens looking good. Back at it here at Texas Motor Speedway. Racing lap 108 of this 248 lap race. And Simon Pagenaud, look at that front right tire. The Frenchman has got some issues, but no sign of coming in just yet because he's been out there in a dogfight with Scott Dixon.
Just saw Bourdais come in and do a pit stop while we were at break, and his tires had blisters, but nowhere near as bad as these huge blisters at
Be careful with the 9
Pagano.
car. They gave us a warning for blocking. They already penalized 1 car for doing that.
So the Penske cars right now have the worst blistering, and they've got a track record, Townsend, of really over-abusing the front tire all the way back to the Juan Pablo Montoya days.
Yeah, we hear talk of, you know, a lot of load on the right front, either through cross rate or really heavy right front spring rate. But certainly consistent across the team on the right front, but no such issues for guys like Wickens and Rossi and Dixon.
Time for the Chevy driver update, and that gives us a look at the top Chevy drivers in tonight's race so far. Simon Pagano, who we're looking at, started second, stays second. Will Powers dropped a couple of positions. Charlie Kimball having a nice run tonight. Ed Carpenter has made up 3 spots as well. His teammate Spencer Piggott 4. So there's a quick snapshot of the Chevy drivers. Let's talk fuel for a moment with Marty.
And you saw those Honda cars, Lee, go a little bit longer in that first run. So Team Penske, the Chevrolet guys, realize that. So they're in kind of fuel save mode right now. You heard Robert Wickens say that a moment ago. So there's a little bit of a battle going on with how can you conserve your tires, and also how much fuel can you save as well, Kevin. Robin?
You know what? Back in 1990, Roger Penske took a chance on a young Canadian named Paul Tracy. That worked out pretty well. So he was interrogating Tracy the other day about Robert Wickens' status. And when all us media guys start saying, well, maybe Penske's going to try and snap up Rossi or Wickens, Sam Schmidt immediately says, I got this kid on a 5-year contract. I'm not going to be a developmental school for Roger Penske. He ain't going anywhere. But PT, you and I both know money talks.
It certainly does, and results talk, and there's no denying that Robert Wickens has been so impressive this year.
Here we go, Dixon on Pagano. Race control, we're monitoring the situation. You heard the voice of Kyle Moyer say to Simon, be careful, race control is looking at us. They've warned us because they do not want to see excessive blocking. Now here's Alexander Rossi lining up for a shot. Goes the low line.
Pagano's in trouble. He's just trying to hang on until he gets to his pit stop window at this point, minimize the damage. So much of a penalty to pit under green flag conditions earlier than you want to here, and that's Ed Jones rocketing by.
Newgarden took the safe route and went for tires. This is really, really risky business. Really risky business. If that tire pops, he's going to go straight into the wall.
He told us in the pre-race he didn't really feel the blisters when they came in. I promise you, he's feeling them now.
It's only a matter of time until Simon heads there. So, race leader's teammate is on screen right there. That's James Hinchcliffe in the Arrow machine. There's Hinch, center of screen, running 8th at the moment, and he has made up 7 positions since the start of the race. Here is the man out front, Robert Wickens. Let's take you back and have a listen to some Wickens radio.
No pressure from behind. Let's just be patient with these lappers and get them as we can. Well, should I use them or just pass them? Let's use them for a few laps to save some fuel in this drop off made and then get past them. Just so you know, Carpenter behind you is bidding for fuel.
It's a game of chess. Use them as pawns to help you save fuel or pass them. Again, that's such a smart question to ask in that moment, right? It's not just 10-4. It's, hey, how do we game the system here to our advantage? Such a heads-up driver. I just am shocked at the rate at which he's learned how to do this. I don't think we've ever seen it in the history of our sport, a driver come in and master the art of oval racing this quickly.
He's under 0 pressure from anybody right now, 4 seconds ahead of Dixon, so he can sit there and wait it out a little bit, draft, get by them when he feels like it. So, I mean, it's not like somebody's breathing down his neck and you need to make quick work of lap traffic. He can sit here and get some fuel mileage and really make hay for later on in the race.
Oh. So here is Pagano on the apron heading to pit lane. We knew it was only going to be a matter of time. Struggling with that front right.
60 miles per hour. Simon Pagano gets down to pit lane speed, he's been wanting, as so many have, to be able to get onto pit lane, but they know if they pit and a caution comes out, their race is just about done. He's maybe still in a position to get it done on one more stop if the cautions fall correctly, Marty.
His teammate Will Power on pit road as well, Kevin. And this is probably a preventative measure by Team Penske here because they were trying the fuel safe thing. They could have probably gone a little bit further on fuel, but you know what? With the tires they've seen come off these cars, don't want to take a chance right now. Will Power, the Indy 500 champ, back out on the track on that very slow pit lane.
Wow. Wow. Blisters all the way across the whole tire. Outside edges, down the center, everything.
I would have put big money last night that a Penske Chevrolet was going to win the race tonight. It's all Hondas top 9 right now.
As Robert Wickens approaches Spencer Pigot. Now that 4-second lead has come down substantially because he was...
I think I can do it on 7 if you want. Hey, if you can't, mate, you do it, but if you need it, use grade 2.
Just talking, I think, about fuel mileage. Wickens saying I can make it on 7 if you want, and I think his engineer is saying go to map 2 if you need it, and that's what he might need it for, is passing Spencer Pigot, opening up that lead a little further because Rossi and Dixon only 2 seconds back.
Yeah, they've closed the gap now substantially as he was sitting there saving fuel, but here comes Dixon down the pit lane.
Coming down pit road, guys, and remember the guy who said, hey, I'm going to play these first 3 stints of the race very conservative? That was Scott Dixon. He ran 3rd that entire run. Very impressive. Again, no changes on that 9 car, and I'll tell you, the tires that came off Will Power's car, Kevin, looked worse on the 2nd run than they did the 1st run.
There's Ryan Hunter-Reay getting a big front wing adjustment. Marco Andretti right behind him, and Marco's got a problem. Earlier, I know he said he had an overboost problem, but this time it looks like the car is stalled, so major problems under green for Marco, and they still don't have him fired yet.
Try both paddles.
Sounds like it's stuck in gear and he can't get it started by pushing the clutch and will only allow the motor to just spin out, the gearbox to spin over. So they've got to get it in neutral for it to start.
That's such a bummer for Marco. I mean, he's up to 6th place, challenging his teammates. Here comes Wickens to pit lane now. Hustling that entry. Really bumpy there, gets it wound up to 60 miles an hour, coming to pit lane.
Trying to gain as much time as he can on that entry. Very impressive stint for Robert Wickens. You saw the fly off of his helmet right there as he took that off coming to pit road. Marco Andretti's team pushing his car back to the paddock right now. Wickens comes to a stop, and here's the challenging part. Racetrack changing completely right now. You can feel it getting cooler. His team, or Alexander Rossi coming in on the left-hand side, holding Wickens for the fuel right there. No changes on that 6 car for Alexander Rossi. He said the car was better this run. And again, keeping up with this racetrack, trying to keep up with the changes as the racetrack gets cooler, the grip goes up. Rossi clearly with a very quick car. What adjustments will they make here for the 27 team as they come down pit road? He hits the stall. It's going to be 4 Firestone tires, and they're going to make an air pressure adjustment and a little bit of a wing change. Car had too much understeer for him, and he's going to hold for the fuel. There he goes back out on the racetrack, and now Lee goes down the very slow extended pit road, trying to gain some time here as well.
Tires look really good coming off of Rossi's car. I didn't see a lot of blisters on that right front, so definitely the Andretti cars, some having tire blistering problems and some not.
Oh, so painfully slow this pit out, but it's the same for everyone, so we'll keep an eye on Wickens. In the middle of 1 and 2 right now. There he goes by. There goes Rossi. So Wickens holding the lead, extending the lead on that cycle of pit stops.
And Josef Newgarden puts himself in the middle of all of that. Remember, Josef is almost 30 laps off the strategy of Alexander Rossi and Robert Wickens. So he's kind of in that mid-step point after those front right tire issues. Here comes Pagano on Rossi.
Yeah, Power and Pagano are now down a lap to the leaders. Pagano 25 seconds behind, but Power now is a lap down to the leader.
And all bar that 1 caution for Matthias Leist and his ABC Supply car catching fire. It has been a very clean affair tonight. Just the 1 caution for 7 laps. And it has been quite the display from the likes of Scott Dixon, Robert Wickens, Alexander Rossi. This is kind of anyone's. This is interesting as we fast approach the halfway mark.
Oh. Not in the gray.
Quickly.
Did you know that Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard return to star in the next chapter of one of the most exciting movies in history? Don't miss the movie event of the summer. See Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and it's in theaters June 22. Mike's Hard Lemonade track facts for you. As you see the temperature dropping, not dramatically, but it's certainly making life more comfortable for everybody involved here at Texas Motor Speedway. Welcome back, folks. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy with you on a beautiful night. That is seeing the PNC Bank machine of Scott Dixon lead the way. Scott's one of 4 drivers so far this year that have completed 100% of the laps in this year's Verizon IndyCar Series. That's not always an easy thing to do, PT, is it?
No, absolutely not.
On board, Graham Rahal. Fleet Cost and Care on board, and Graham has been resilient. He's trying to drag himself back up towards the front. In his own words, he says, I've got a love-hate relationship with this track. I've had a lot of good things happen to me here, but I've also had equally bad.
He certainly has, and he really kept it exciting for us a couple years ago here with that crazy shootout at the end as Wickens now working the lap traffic. Rossi up ahead.
Rossi's ahead of him now.
Not sure how that happened. I wonder if Chilton checked up Wickens and Rossi went rocketing by.
Dixon's now the leader, Rossi in second. We're going to get a replay here of what happened with these two. So he got checked up, and here
Rossi's
comes Rossi on the high side. Yeah, nice clean move. Gets by both cars on the front straightaway.
So we look a little further back. This is Will Power, left of screen. James Hinchcliffe right. You're talking about 8th and 9th. Takuma Sato is the next car behind them, running inside the top 10. But it's Scott Dixon with a 5-second lead out in front. I asked him this morning, I said, based on last night's practice, how do you feel? He said, I think we got a shot.
That means awesome.
Yeah.
That's about as excited as your Scott Dixon get from a practice session. And he's proven it right now. You can see the seconds ahead of second place, so that lead has grown nicely right at about 5 seconds right now. Kelly, what's going on at Newgarden's?
Well, he said it felt like this set of tires was doing the same thing the last set did. He could even see the lines forming on the right front of that set, so they called them in pretty quickly. They also, Tim Cindric said they are going to have to give him a full turn of front wing to potentially help with that issue.
Let's not forget, guys, that these guys on the first 4 stops are having to run scrub tires. On Friday, they had to scrub in 4 sets before they could get down to their running. So hopefully this problem will fix itself as the temperature drops, and then they get to start running sticker tires after these first 4 sets of tires they run through.
And it's a combination, right? It's extreme heat and the reconfiguration of the track. It was done, slightly before last year's race. Saw some of those problems arise then. They've come back again, but once that heat continues to drop, things should stabilize.
Should help. You see it's still a small line forming on Pagenaud, but he really needs to stretch this stint so that he can make it on just 2 more stops. For Newgarden, I think he's going to have to make this. He's been forced into a 4-stop situation, and there we see again.
Really, really bad tires. So you have no option but to stop when the tire is that bad.
We're hearing a report that Robin Wickens may have brushed the wall.
Still running at speed, so it really hasn't phased him.
Looking at that right rear to see if that Firestone logo has been scuffed off at all. It doesn't look like what we saw from Veach or Kanaan earlier. And there's Rossi going to the high side of Clayman DeMello. And here comes Wickens. Wickens will have a run now on Rossi as they get to turn 1.
We haven't talked about Clayman DeMello all night. Oh yeah,
same
up
spot.
High.
Exactly. Ooh. Look at the black marks from Veach and Kanaan. I think Wickens just got away with a kiss though.
Clayman DeMello running inside the top 12. His first time on a big track, high bank track like this. He did a really nice, tidy job at Indy and got the nod to be here. So he's doing a good job tonight. Chasing down Ed Carpenter, so a lot of experience right in front of him.
And to your point, PT, Zach Clayman DeMello said it was just that time, that extended period of time in the car at Indy that's made me feel so much more confident.
Well, so confident, in fact, that he's holding off Rossi, who's trying to get past urgently because Scott Dixon is quietly sneaking up ahead, currently building a 7-second lead. So Rossi's going to probably start to get a little anxious here. Now you've got Ed Carpenter in the mix, who's hanging on, trying to stay just one lap down.
And just like that, there's less than 100 laps to go. And here goes Rossi on Clayman DeMello. Fairly straightforward there. Look a little further back though.
Oh, Newgarden on those fresh tires, so he's really racy when the tires are new, but he's so far out of sequence now with everybody in terms of where their tire wear is at. He's obviously a lot faster on fresh tires. Newgarden right now, because of that early stop, has dropped 2 laps behind the leaders now. He was running in 4th place, and now because he stopped, is 2 laps behind.
He's made 3 stops, most of the front runners, 2 pit stops so far. And I think the leaders can make it on 3 total stops. Newgarden will have to do 4.
Scott Dixon has led 24 laps in this race, and we've got 95 to go. The race leader, Scott Dixon, has a pretty healthy history here. First win, there's his mum Glennis, who was able to watch him get his first victory at Texas Motor Speedway, and then several years later, in 2015, went to victory lane again. So he's trying to make it 3 here tonight and feels pretty confident. And just what a big program. We mentioned this a little earlier in the broadcast about, everyone's a little worn out. It has been a grueling grind through the month of May, and then the doubleheader in Detroit, and then here in Texas. Remember, this guy, Sebastian Bourdais, and Tony Kanaan all head off tomorrow to compete in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which we wish them the best of luck. For Sebastian Bourdais, that's him heading home to Le Mans. Let's join Robin Miller. What you got, Robin?
Diff, think about this. As great as Scott Dixon is, 4-time champion, Indy 500 winner, he had not led a lap until Detroit when he won the first race. Well, I think he's back in the old groove of leading races, and guess what? Here's a guy that was hanging around the top of the points and hadn't won a race or hadn't led a lap, and now he could lead here. He could leave here with the lead. Marty?
It's amazing to think he had only had 39 laps coming into tonight. Let's chat with Mike Hull, the man calling the shots for him. Looks like the decision to go a little conservative on those first few stints worked, Mike.
I think it worked okay. Scott was trying to find his way around with the racetrack and understanding what the balance was going to be, but it's good. We've lost a lot of track temp now, so the car's kind of coming to us. We'll just kind of see how it plays out.
Seen a lot of blistering from these tires, Mike. How worried are you about that, and when will the next stop come?
You know what? We're not watching the blisters. We're just watching the racetrack, and Scott's doing a good job. He's cognizant of what's going on with the tires. No vibration, so we're happy with the tires. We're happy with the car, and we'll just see what happens as we go along here.
And Kev, it's easy to be happy when you're leading the race, right?
No doubt, and Alexander Rossi is right behind him. Rob Edwards is calling strategy. All right, you've got a few laps on the field as far as your last stop. How are you on fuel and tires?
Tires, we're pretty happy so far. Tires have been good. Fuel, yeah, we're slightly better off than Scott, but Scott's the fuel master, right? So we'll see what happens here.
Your guy clutch and coasted and won the Indianapolis 500. Are you going for it on one stop?
I think we can do it on one more stop, yeah.
Thank you, Rob Edwards.
Okay, so he's pleased with the tyre situation and pleased with his driver. And Rossi, however, though, is some 13 seconds behind Scott Dixon.
Quite a change from first half of the race where Rossi appeared to be the car that was on the charge. But in that cycle of pit stops, by bringing Dixon in a few laps earlier and putting him on fresh up rubber, he got the track position. And Bourdais early once again, Kelly, to pit lane.
Yeah, initially it was having issues with the right rear tire, then it was the right front tire. They've gone down half a turn of front wing to try to help mitigate that issue. He pitted from the 4th position.
Yeah, this is one of the best races at Texas I've ever seen Bourdais run. Normally he's a guy that just kind of slides to the back and tries to just get through this. And when we talked to him before the race this morning, or before the driver, after the driver's meeting, he was like so down and out, wasn't really feeling it. But look, he's having one of his best races here.
Well, he had his best ever qualifying. I mean, I think prior to yesterday, his best qualifying was in the teens. So he qualified very well yesterday. You know who somebody is being sneaky quiet and sneaky successful at the moment is James Hinchcliffe. He is sitting 5th at the moment. Here he is, the mayor of Hinchtown. Boy, needs a result tonight like you can't believe.
For sure. Going to be dicey right here. That's Bourdais out of the pits. Pagano has to check up. Hinch is going to have a run right now.
And I'm looking at his tires as we see these guys racing side by side. Bourdais trying to get up to speed. Hinchcliffe slices down the inside. He's got that position.
But it really helped Hinchcliffe that Bourdais was on new tires so he could go firing down into turn 1 with authority while Pagano had to check up high. Had that been a lap car that had been on track for quite a while, Pagano would have had the advantage.
Have a look at this, though. He not only slid up the inside, he slid literally. Watch this. There was a little step out here.
And this is where you have to be careful, Paul, is on the grass there down below. Remember, Sato last year ducked a left front, caused a huge accident with Dixon. Pagano, very smart to leave room.
Thing I'm noticing when you look at that right front, he's about the only guy that I've seen that doesn't have a line of blisters down the tires. So he is moving forward, definitely has a good balance, and he's not using the tires.
Hinchcliffe up 11 positions. Remember how much further back he qualified than his teammate. Now he's right there within 3 seconds of Wickens, who's the next car up the road.
And Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to stay ahead of Scott Dixon here. Oh, Wickens is gone. So too Ed Carpenter.
Oh, that's a hard crash for Ed. Right on the attenuator. He got in the inside of Ed, and he wasn't all the way in there, and Ed was on the bottom of the track. And
okay, Bud, you had tough breaks there, man. Are you okay?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
And that was a really hard hit for Ed.
And did you see when Wickens was sliding down the track, who arrived on the scene? None other than the race leader, Scott Dixon.
And arrived slowly and carefully to make sure he doesn't hit any debris.
Wow. So Wickens inside Ed Carpenter, and then
Ed a little bit slow to get out of the car. He's coming out now, which is a good sign, because that was a really hard hit, Towns. He hit dead square right on the attenuator. You see the back of the cars, both cars right here, both of them are just destroyed, hit right on the gearboxes.
Yeah, and I think Wickens is...
Yeah, he's not jumping out real quick either, is he?
So he's coming down the inside right here. Ooh. And Ed's turning in, and he's not all the way in there. They touch, and now watch these cars, just both of them equally hit the outside wall dead square on the gearbox.
Luckily, Carpenter cushioned the blow for Wickens. Well, I don't know if it was lucky for Ed. It was lucky for Wickens. But
look how low Wickens gets though, down on the apron.
Yeah.
Gonna have a view coming up for you from Graham Rahal.
Inside, clear.
Yeah, I mean, Ed was just taking the natural line into the corner, and, you know, Robert wasn't all the way in there, so he probably, the spotter told him, you're clear, and he went for the line, and just one of those things, two cars going for the same real estate.
And we've talked about the learning process for Robert Wickens, how quickly he's acclimated. And unfortunately, Paul, this is a lesson in the education that you just can't short. We've all had it. You've got to go through this. And I don't really put that on either guy particularly. I wonder if Carpenter had the information from up top that somebody was inside. But this late in the race, with as much green flag running as we've had, you don't want to get pushed very high in 3 and 4. So I'm going to chalk that up to a racing incident, but really unfortunate for both drivers.
Well, this is definitely going to reset everything, get everybody back in a group. And now what we're going to do, we're going to get sticker tires now from here out. So I think we're going to have some side-by-side action.
This is usually about the time in the race you say Saturday Night Showdown.
That's right.
Well, I tell you what. That caution saved Ryan Hunter-Reay as well, because this man, Scott Dixon, was all over the back of him, about to put him down a lap. And so that's given Hunter-Reay some breathing room for sure.
Be interesting for us to watch these next couple of pit stops, or this next round of running here, to see if the sticker tires are more effective on the blistering than the scrub tires.
Hey guys, you know what that was? That was Robert Wickens' first DNF since St. Petersburg in his maiden IndyCar race. going to take some cleaning up here too. As we do each and every broadcast, we should thank the AMR safety team as well, who do such an amazing job and take so much pride in their work and have to work fast and efficiently in stressful conditions. So once again, doing an amazing job. It's going to take a little bit to get this cleaned up before we go back, and there's going to be quite a bit of action on pit road coming up. Kelly Stavis, Robin Miller, Kevin Lee, Marty Snyder are all down there. Let's kick it off with Kev.
As we watch them all come down pit lane, we are eventually there. At the top of the screen is Simon Pagenaud. We see Alexander Rossi in the middle and Scott Dixon up at the front. Pagenaud pits from the 4th position. He's been strong all night. He felt he had a good chance to get his first super speedway win. He's won on an oval before, not on one of these kind of tracks, and he desperately wants to do it because he loves this kind of racing. Marty, what are you seeing up front?
Scott Dixon pits from the lead, half a turn of wing, willing more to keep up with the track than anything, and you see Alexander Rossi had a clean in, and it looks like they're having a fueling issue on Alexander Rossi's stop. He came in second, but look at all the track position he's going to lose. They still can't get fuel inside the car, and you see Rossi with a hand up in the air and his head shaking, the disappointment. They finally get it full, but he is going to lose a ton of track position.
Well, not too much, because there's only 5-6 cars on the lead lap. So
pitted, so he's just at the back of the leaders. So
definitely lucky on that.
Looked like maybe the valve wasn't open. The fueler was desperately trying to figure out how to get fuel flowing. But there you'll see Rossi dropped only 3 spots, so he's just got to regroup here. Got to have a lot of yellow to get kind of calmed down, refocused, and then it'll be a shootout to the end.
If that was Indianapolis, it would have been a disastrous second to last stop or last stop. But luckily here, there's only 6 cars on the lead lap at this point, so it's not too bad of a position to be in, really.
So more stops to come, and this is setting up for a thrilling final 70 laps, and Scott Dixon narrowly avoided this. Reminding you that at 9 a.m. Eastern on NBC tomorrow morning, it's the French Open men's final. Rafa Nadal going for his 11th French Open title, taking on Dominic Thiem. It's all part of the NBC Sports Championship season, presented by Canada Dry Ginger Ale and Lemonade. How's the tennis game for you guys? Strong
medium.
to very strong?
Medium to quite medium.
PT?
Weak to quite weak.
All right, well, no laughing matter what just went down between Ed Carpenter and Robert Wickens. Let's hear Wickens' side of the story.
And Robert is out of the infield care center. Let's get his take. I know you were frustrated on the radio because you had asked for a couple of times for Ed Carpenter to be moved out of your way as you were lapping him. What was your take on the accident?
It wasn't just Ed, honestly. Clement DeMello I thought was the worst one. You know, the guy's moving multiple times on the straight. He's going through the grass in the dog leg. I mean, it's pretty bad in my opinion. But anyway, so I was trying to get by him, trying to hit the fuel numbers that we wanted. We were getting everything we needed. Ed got by me on fresher tires, and then he made a mistake out of 2, and then I went to the inside. I mean, my opinion, I was very much beside him, and he just turned in on me. But it just sucks. We had such a good car, and when you're racing people that aren't even for position and you get out of the race, I mean, I don't know, maybe I need to look at it. I mean, I'm just disappointed.
Did you say anything to Ed in the care center?
Not really. I mean, he apologized to me, but I mean, it doesn't change anything.
All right, Robert Wickens obviously a little bit upset. And Robin, a lot of cars topping off here. I believe you have caught up with Ed Carpenter.
Ed's an honest old USAC guy, and you're taking the blame.
Yeah, I mean, it was my fault. It was a stupid mistake. I knew Robbie was coming and thought I could close the door, but it was a big mistake on my part. He was a lead lap car, and we're having a bad day, so my apologies to him. I know it doesn't mean much now. You know, I feel bad for those guys. Feel bad for my guys. You know, we weren't having a great night, but certainly didn't need to end like this. So it's a mistake on me, and I have to come back and get him at Iowa.
As good as you were at Indy, was it that hard tonight and that bad?
We just didn't have it this weekend. You know, I mean, just never could get the balance right where it needed to be. That last stint was looking like it was going to be a little better with the adjustment we had made, but you know, we just never quite had it this weekend, and you know, then I made it worse by making a mistake like that.
All right, Lee, we got an honest race driver down here, disappointed but honest.
Yeah, he was definitely Townsend putting the fade on him down the back straight, but not aggressively. It was just kind of a slight move over on him, but big of him to accept the blame on it.
For sure. For sure. It's a class act. Been doing it a long time, a lot of experience. And you just, man, you hate it for Wickens, too. What a run he was having.
Yeah. He might be thinking big picture, and hey, maybe I'll sign this kid someday, so maybe I should apologize to him.
Yes. Always tinking, Mr. Tracy.
Yes.
So the cleanup continues, and while we do have a moment, should thank promoter Eddie Gossage, who always does a wonderful job here at Texas Motor Speedway, whether it be with NASCAR or IndyCar, whatever. Stadium Super Trucks are here as well this weekend. It's been quite the show, and I think over these next 64 laps, we are still going to get quite the show. We just got a little taste of it then. We've had some really good passes. There's been a lot more passing than what particularly the majority of the driver group predicted, as we have a Chevy driver profile. And boy, oh boy, didn't Will Power, as every Indianapolis 500 driver winner does, had an amazing busy spell after winning the 500 in those 3 to 4 days before having to be back on duty in Detroit for the doubleheader. Just the things he did. He had a great time. I mean, he was on the Today Show with Megyn Kelly. He was on Squawk Box on CNBC. Photo ops on top of the Empire State Building. He just did everything. And that's Will and Liz's little boy, Bo. He's kind of got Dad's eyes, doesn't he? Ready to go racing again. Under the lights here in Texas, Dixon leads them to green, and Hinchcliffe is on a roll. Alexander Rossi side by side with Simon Pagenaud. Someone's going,
oh! Rossi with a big
sideways
wiggle, but Will Power hanging on to the outside. Whoa, look at Pagenaud passing Hinchcliffe.
Decisive move on the inside of the sole remaining Schmidt-Peterson Honda.
Definitely ramped up aggression now. Hunter Ray on the outside of James Hinchcliffe. Backs off a little bit early, but he'll try to get a run on him through the corner. Guys are getting more aggressive now. Hunter Ray clawing it back. Got a nice run coming off turn 2.
And guess what Hunter Ray did? Of this front-running pack, he came in and topped off on lap 182. So he's in a better fuel position than Dixon, Pagenaud, Hinchcliffe, the drivers who are around him. That was a lucky escape from Alexander Rossi. Zach Veach is not on the lead lap, but he's in the mix. Check this out. Have a look.
Terrific save from Rossi.
Oh.
Look at Rossi challenging up the outside. Rossi's trying to stay as low as he can in the groove, and then it just loosens well up on him. Power also further back. I think Power was inspired by Rossi's moves in Indy and said, hey, I've seen him do this before. I'm going to follow him through. It didn't work this time.
I want to be on the highlight reel.
You couldn't have slid a piece of paper between their front wheels. They were so close to each other.
Let your eyes walk a little further back, and we pick up Graham Rahal up 13 positions from his starting spot. He's on the lead lap. Here he is here, and this has been another impressive run. Let's take a ride while we've got this Fleet Cost and Care on board. Check out the Firestone Telemetry when you have a moment as well.
Okay, my new nickname for Graham Rahal is Vuki, Bill Vukovich Jr. Not a very good qualifier on ovals, but a hell of a racer, and that's what Graham's shown us in the last few years on ovals, and I think he's probably right where he wants to be right now, fellas.
Lead lap, topped off on fuel on lap 182. Same as Ryan Hunter-Ray, who's a couple of positions up ahead of him.
Back on focus with Hunter Ray here, now chasing down Hinchcliffe again. Pagenaud's kind of pulled away a little bit from Hinchcliffe. He's about a half a second ahead of Zach Veach right on the tail of his teammate, but he's a couple laps down.
9 laps down, but it shows the strength of Andretti Honda as the track temp now.
Here comes Rossi.
Under
Rossi
100 degrees, 99 degrees track temp. And they're starting to come.
We got 3 teammates here working together, so the smart thing for Veach would be to let his teammate through here.
Here goes Hunter Ray on Hinchcliffe. High side.
Oh,
and close.
Clear.
Chopped the nose right off of Hinchcliffe. That was really close quarter racing.
Terrific pass from Hunter Ray. So Pagano and Dixon about 3 seconds up the road. Kevin, what do you know about Hunter Ray?
I think he's going to be able to make it on fuel. They've been given a number, and I don't even think this is in code. 332 is the number he's been given. It was 333 earlier on, and he's been told all those in front of you are going to have to really dial it back pretty soon. It's Power and Rahal who also are in the same strategy.
So Hunter Ray did duck in at the end of that yellow. So I would think if I'm Scott Dixon and Mike Hall right now, if I can catch lap traffic, that'll give me a chance to save fuel.
Yeah.
So that's an incentive to push hard. I tend to think they're going to be okay, though.
And Townsend, a lot of different strategies riding on board with James Hinchcliffe right now, who's had an impressive run tonight up in the 4th position. They've told him we have to hit a fuel number of 5-1, and he radioed back to his team and said, there's no way those top 3 guys are running 5-1. They said, nope, those top 3 are on their own plan. They're running as hard as they can go. From us back, we're all trying to save as much fuel as we can. Look at that incredible racing with Alexander Rossi and James Hinchcliffe.
Rossi is everywhere. He's inside, he's outside.
And now you can't let this happen. Zach, that's very cool, Zach Veach. Back out of it. Don't mess with your teammate who's running in the top 5. Rossi looking so racy off of 4. Look at the grip he can generate with the front of his car to hold low. He's going to get his teammate.
Is it 2 for 1? You bet. Alexander Rossi scorches his way up into the top 3. There's only Dixon and Pagano ahead.
If we get another yellow, all this fuel mileage going to the end is all going to be for naught because tires are so crucial. Even if there's a late yellow like we've had in the past with 5-6 laps to go, you'd have to take tires because they're so much faster than having a blistered set.
With 15 laps to go, if there's a yellow, only any lap cars get moved to the back. There's only 9 cars on the lead lap, so to your point, Paul, I think a lot of guys would come in and take tires for the shootout at the end.
Talk about 9 cars on the lead lap. Let's give a shout out to Zach Clayman DeMello, driving the Dale Coyne number 19, the PaySafe car. He's on the lead lap in 8th. And Ed Jones, the second Ganassi car, the NTT Data car, is in 9th. And the last car on the lead lap.
Not sure how Rossi has all of a sudden found this amazing run of speed as Hunter Ray's can't really hang on to him at this point.
Yeah, he's checked out on Hunter Ray. Veach is now all over the back of his teammate, but
let's get you some Will Power radio from a few moments ago.
Well, just let me know if you want me to get the fuel number or not. No fuel number, just go.
That's Roger Penske, the other voice to Will Powers. No, don't worry about a fuel number, just go. And we've hit lap 200. That means 48 to go. Can Scott Dixon get his 3rd win here under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway? He's looking strong and has led the most laps. Back at Texas Motor Speedway, the Indianapolis 500 winner and points leader is out of this race, and Will Power is furious.
Yeah, he got out of the car and ripped his water hose out, wanted to get out in a hurry. Roger came on the radio, said he okay. He had the steering wheel off, and Clayman DeMello, we were in break. He made a big move on the outside. They just told him to go. You can go as fast as you want. And he made a move around the outside on the high line, and he ran out of real estate when the cars came up in front of him. Watch this, guys. He's on the outside, up in the gray, coming around 3 cars, and then he just gets to the exit, and Will starts coming up the track, and they run out of space.
Well, Power's behind Hunter Ray, and Power gets the big wash to the front end coming up.
Look at this second hit right here when the car of Will Powers, it slammed the wall hard after they come through the dogleg here. Watch this, guys.
Watching DeMello again up high, and Power just gets the big wash up off of Hunter-Reay's car. I don't think Power had any expectation there was another car coming there. And if he did, there's probably nothing he could do about it, because once you get that wash, as we've seen earlier, you back off the throttle and the thing keeps shooting up the track.
Yeah,
which is what happened to him at Phoenix.
The second hit right here, the car kind of tips up on its side here. Look. Boom. Look at that. Hard hit up in the air.
We were singing the praises of Clement DeMello for being on the lead lap and in 8th position. However, you may remember earlier, Robert Wickens complained about his conduct on track prior to his crash, and Will Power had made a couple of comments on the radio as well. So I don't think Zach is going to be the most popular guy here tonight.
No, and I think this is just a classic rookie situation where you see a big hole, but you have to be thinking about all the moving chess pieces around you, where the air is. Somebody could wash up there, and he'll learn from this one, but Power will be fuming, because a lot of guys, as you said, had been complaining about some of the moves that DeMello was making tonight.
Well, not only that, Power has come from so far back in the championship to leading after the month of May, and this is a big hit for him. We know how he goes up and down with things.
DeMello's out of the car. You can see some of the mechanics motioning like they might be able to fix this thing, or maybe they're looking for the steering wheel.
All right, Zach, we're going to show you a replay here in a second. By the way, your team just congratulated on a great run in your first time here at Texas Motor Speedway. How did you see the contact with Will Power?
I mean, I just got a great run on the outside. They queued up on the inside, and I got an amazing run, clear air. I probably would have passed Power as well. And I don't know if his spotter didn't tell him I was there, but watching the replay now, I was clearly there, and it was just one of those moments. I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose. He's in the championship, and I feel bad for him. I feel bad for me. It's a bad day, and I mean, I think I showed my potential and that I'm here in IndyCar to stay. A lot of people doubted me coming into the Oval, so to do what we did today from near last was very impressive, and I can't thank the whole team enough, and my sponsor, PaySafe, and everyone. And after a disappointing weekend like this, I just can't wait to get back in the car next.
Thank you. Zachary Clement DeMello.
So, pit lane open. Here we go. Ryan Hunter-Reay stays out. And Marty, here come Rossi, Pagenaud, and Dixon.
All the leaders coming down pit road. And what did PT say a moment ago? If a caution comes out, all that fuel mileage goes out the window. Here's the question. Do you take fuel only here or tires? I think everybody's going to go with tires. At least Scott Dixon is, but Alexander Rossi going to go with tires as well. Dixon wanted no changes to his car. Quick stop for the 9 bunch for Alexander Rossi. Much smoother stop this time for the 27, but Dixon will win the race off pit road.
And not a great stop for Rossi. A little bit of struggle on the front tire, inside tire, but Rossi was looking in the mirror at that fuel guy, and he nailed it that time. The fuel went in that car quick, but they had a little small hiccup on the right front tire.
So for the second time, Zach Veach has tricked us with that color scheme because our HR did come in. Oh, this is going to be quite the showdown when we come back. Under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway, the DXC Technology 600, getting us into the second half of this year's Verizon IndyCar Series. And if you're just joining us, let's get you up to speed with what has gone down here earlier this evening and into the night. At lap 5, there was a fiery beginning to the race with Matthias Leist.
Luckily, he was able to jump out, no injury, but the car burned pretty well. And then this happened to Tony Kanaan, Paul, early on, exiting 2.
Yeah, he just got up high. He says he felt something might have broke, which caused him to get high. But then we get later on in the race, the exact same thing happened with Zach Veach. Got a little high, brushed the wall, bent that toe link, and he's 12 laps down right now.
Then there was some tire blistering issues that were forecast, and they did materialize. And the 2 of the 3 Penske cars were affected by it, most notably. First was Josef Newgarden, next was Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah, look at the blistering on Pagenaud's right front. A lot of the field suffering for that. But then 173, this was Wickens trying to go around the lap car of Ed Carpenter. Carpenter apologized for closing the door. And Wickens with his first big oval hit in his rookie year.
Then we got Zach Clement DeMello, said he was ready to go, made a big outside move. Will Power slid up just into him right there. They made heavy contact with the wall. Zach said he felt like he was running a good race, and he was disappointed with what happened, but we'll wait to hear Will Power's perspective on it when he comes from the infield care center.
He won't mince his words, that's for sure. So while we're enjoying the third oval of the year, Phoenix, Indy, and here in Texas, we go to one of the most beautiful and historic and just spectacular road courses anywhere in the world in just 2 weeks' time. It's the Cola Grand Prix, and that's Sunday, June 24 at 12:30 Eastern from the legendary Elkhart Lake Road America. Looking forward to that. I'm actually going to a wedding in Elkhart Lake next weekend, and I'm going to have back-to-back weekends in Elkhart Lake.
Always a celebration in the life of Lee Diffie. I'm excited for Road America because I think Dixon and Rossi both running 1 and 3 right now, along with the Penske's like Pagenaud. There's going to be some strong cars there.
Interesting move, guys, from 7th on back. Ed Jones, Josef Newgarden, Takuma Sato. Those guys came to pit road. They are on the lead lap. They'll have about 4 lap fresher tires. We'll see if that makes a difference here, Diff.
Ready to go. This is going to be quite the shootout. 34 laps remain here at Texas Motor Speedway. Let's go with Scott Dixon in the lead, but keep your eye on that third place car. Rossi is looking racy.
Keep your eye on the second place car, Simon Pagenaud, with all the tire trouble and the massive blisters that the Penske team has had. He has recovered back to second place.
Watch Hunter Ray and Hinchcliffe there battling for 5th. Hunter Ray work on the outside. There's a lot to watch for here. A lot of action. I think everybody, including Pagenaud, knows this is the chance to get Dixon. Pagenaud needs to make it happen now.
Honda versus Chevrolet. Ganassi versus Penske. Dixon up against Pagenaud.
Can he go the distance now from here to the end without having big blisters on the tires? We know he's been fast in the first 10, 15 laps, but he's had tire blistering issues from 15 laps on all race long.
What a solid night for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. Graham is in 6th. Takuma Sato is in 8th. Good run. Dixon goes low.
Dixon breaking the draft. Obviously, his car's handling really well, Townsend, where you can run the short line around.
It's a good night, though, for Simon Pagenaud. In with a chance to win. It's been a tough season for him. He's had the speed everywhere as we ride on board with Pagenaud. And now he's just studying Dixon. How can I possibly get close enough to make a move, especially as now we're up to speed?
It's very difficult for these words to come out of my mouth. Simon Pagenaud hasn't had a podium this year. I mean, you're talking about a series champion, a former series champion. Tag Heuer, fastest lap, as we like to feature each race. And of course, that goes to the man who's out front leading. Fastest speed, if you're interested, was just under 221 miles an hour. Of course, that belongs to Scott Dixon. Kev?
Simon Pagenaud, 10 of his 11 wins have been on road or street courses, but he has come to really, really enjoy ovals. And he said really it was the end of 14, the beginning of 15, when he really thought he had figured it out. And it was a lot of just watching, learning, listening to Helio Castroneves and Juan Pablo Montoya about how to deal with ovals, about how to deal with changing conditions. He says, now I can give the kind of feedback to my engineer, Ben Bretzman, like I've always been able to do on road and street courses. And I think I have this figured out. And he's been strong at Indy in the past, and he's still got a chance to win this one. By the way, on the last stint, Kyle Moyer told him the tires were much better than the previous stint, much less blistering, so this one may not be done yet.
By the way, guys, you can chew over this one. Just heard from race control, Will Power in the 12 will be getting a post-race penalty for avoidable contact with Zach Clayman DeMello.
There you go, the door. He was definitely side by side with him on the exit, and that's really not so much. I wouldn't say that's down on Power, but his spotter probably didn't tell him that he was there.
So, post-race penalty, I'm going to guess that's financial. Going to slap him with a fine, because both cars are going out in a truck or a dumpster.
Yep, and Power has lost the lead of the championship. If Scott Dixon can win this race within the last 25 laps, he's going to boast a 23-point championship lead.
It's going to be a really interesting interview with Power now that he knows he's going to get a penalty to boot as well, so that will be exciting. Here, look at this.
Interesting. Rossi to the high side of Pagenaud. He couldn't make this work before he tucks back in, but he has been getting closer and closer to the back of Pagenaud.
Well, he's got to get by him because Dixon now is again pulling away from these guys and kind of stretching out the lead. So Time goes by, laps click off very fast here, so Rossi now needs to get by Pagenaud if he's going to have a shot at Dixon.
Rossi seems to be able to just hold the car really low in 3 and 4, especially coming off 4 as the lead car, in this case Pagenaud, peels up the track. Rossi's able to kind of hold it low right about here. See how close he gets to the white line? And that allows him to get a run down the front straightaway, but then there's really nothing for him to do because he goes high here and he backs off.
When he goes side by side with Pagenaud, when they get to that point, that's going to leave a big giant hole in the air for Hinchcliffe to get a run as well. But here we have
this is a drive-through penalty for the reigning series champion Josef Newgarden for jumping the restart. Race control has been stern tonight, that's for sure. Rossi hounding Pagenaud, meanwhile Dixon cruising with a 2-second lead. Know you saw everything that went down at home. Now we're back, and it's time to bring the action all the way to the checkered flag. Well, while we were in that break, Scott Dixon has doubled his lead to now 4 seconds over these guys who have been having an enthralling scrap.
And Rossi has been all over the back of Pagenaud like a cheap suit, Townsend. He can't find a way by, and Dixon is just taking off from these guys. Look at the lead.
And I think Rossi could catch Dixon if he could get by Pagenaud, but Pagenaud's doing a masterful job using the track, using the conditions. He's going to break the draft here on the back straight. See, he goes low, try to break up the draft. And as long as he stays low going into turn 1, I think Rossi's going to have a heck of a time trying to get by on the outside, Marty.
Yeah. So he told me before the race, Townsend and Paul, that he was going to keep trying that high line until it worked. It hasn't worked all night long for that 27 car, but he has not given up, and I promise you he's going to keep doing it for these final 12 laps. Behind him, James Hinchcliffe with a very nice run. This is the same car they did not make the Indianapolis 500 with, and he told me, you know what, I was wondering if something might be wrong with this car. They did not qualify well here, but I tell you what, this car has exonerated itself. Nice top 5 run, and here goes Rossi again on the outside, Diff.
Oh, we're never going to get sick of seeing this, are we? He's trying as hard as he can, but he's running out of laps. There's only 11 to go.
Yeah, he backed out early. He's got to really get a run off of 1 and 2. He's so strong off 3 and 4, but taking that high line around the outside, you've really got to have a huge run, or else you're just going to run out of real estate.
If he sets him up here and takes a look down low at some point, but when he gets a run, he really doesn't have the opening to go low. He sort of has to go high.
Yeah, what he needs to do also is if he can get a run off of 3 and 4 and get underneath of Pagenaud. Pagenaud's doing a great job of driving defensively and keeping it right there on that white line and keeping it nice and low so Rossi can't get underneath of him to 1 and 2.
So Dixon, Pagenaud, Rossi, Hinchcliffe, a much-needed result for James. Ryan Hunter-Reay in the top 5. Graham Rahal making up 14 positions from his grid spot to be in 6th. His teammate Takuma Sato is 7th. Bourdais is 8th. Ed Jones 9th, and Charlie Kimball in the top 10. But it is a sea of Hondas in the top 10.
And there it seems like Rossi's burned up his front tires a little too much. He's struggling now to stay as close as he was to Pagenaud as Dixon is just cruising with a 5-second lead.
And how do you think Josef Newgarden feels being back there at 14th, looking at the leader, not fighting the leader, just looking at him? 7 to go.
Another big run by Rossi. Pagenaud's car has obviously come right because the tires look, well, he's got some blisters now.
Big ones, right front, huge
so that
blisters.
car might go away now in a hurry.
Remember how much he struggled when the blisters came earlier in the race? He really had to check up his pace.
Running out of time though, 6 laps to go. He's got big blisters on the outside right front, but he's doing a good job at maintaining this spot.
And we take you back a week ago. Alexander Rossi was in a real arm wrestle with his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay until this late race hiccup, and that cost him the win. Here he is. less than a week away. He's trying to grab some points back with the final 5 laps here in Texas.
He's got to get Pagenaud off the white line. It's kind of like the old school IRL racing days when guys would be buried on the white line. You got to move them up off the white line.
But certainly at Detroit, Rob Edwards on Alexander Rossi's radio said big picture, and I'm sure Edwards has been telling Rossi here, reminding him, hey, you're second in points, be smart again.
6.5 seconds out in front is Scott Dixon in the PNC Bank car for Chip Ganassi Racing, but he's come up on a lot of traffic in these final 4 laps. What a masterful display it's been from Scott Dixon. He's led 116 laps now, as the likes of Gabby Chavez and co get the blue flag to say, hey, come on, be heads up. You got the race leader coming up on you, let him by. On a day when Justify wins the Triple Crown, Scott Dixon is headed for his 3rd win here at Texas.
Oh, big run here. Has to back out of it. He doesn't have the grip, Townsend, going into 1. He can't hold it in there wide open. He's got to back off early and throttle it back in.
Well, he tried it once on that restart and about threw it away, so I'm sure he's a little bit gun-shy, especially now that the dust and the marbles will have built up as we see the white flag for Scott Dixon.
1.5 miles left, that is it. Meanwhile, this scrap for second goes on, and in less than a lap's time, Scott Dixon is going to have a very healthy championship lead. And he's going to win 2 of the last 3 races in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Under the lights, here in the Lone Star State, it's the Kiwi, Scott Dixon, who wins.
Well done.
And takes the lead of this championship. And Simon Pagenaud, a really gritty drive to hold off Alexander Rossi. Scott Dixon was just congratulating and thanking his team for their marvelous pit stops. So 2 wins in a week. Last Saturday in Detroit and tonight. Blair Julian and the gang down there on Scott's team are delighted. And that was a commanding victory. Let's check in with Robin Miller. He's with Will Power.
Will, give us your view of what happened.
Well, the guys in front of me were saving a lot of fuel, and so we were completely lifting in 3-4, like unnecessarily, but obviously to try and make it. And the stand was talking to me, so my spotter could not call outside, and someone obviously went outside, and that's what happened. So yeah, just a bad situation, just very unfortunate.
You look okay, but you got a penalty for unavoidable contact. Is that fair?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if I'd heard outside, of course, I would have left the lane. So yeah, it was not really the guy on the outside's fault.
We're glad you're all right, Lee.
That's good. That's good. Honest, straight talking from Will Power. So
had a lot of honesty tonight in both big crashes.
Yeah.
So guys owning up to it, and makes our job easier for sure.
It's kind of almost always like a celebratory occasion here at Texas Motor Speedway. But for Scott Dixon, this is really significant. He now moves ahead of Michael Andretti and is 3rd on the all-time winners list in the history of IndyCar racing by himself, only behind AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti.
He was in the gym this morning working out. He's dead focused. Here comes Rossi. Has a word with Pagenaud. Good sportsmanship, good race, but man, Scott Dixon in this position at this time of year.
Look out.
Look out.
Yeah, look out. And there's a nice side note too. His mum Glennis is here to have been able to witness that victory under the lights before he heads off to Le Mans, France tomorrow to try and win his class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So his modest words to me this morning of, I think we might have a chance, rang true in very strong fashion.
Hard work tonight for this guy, but it paid off.
And a hug for wife Emma, who is videoing all that, by the way, before Scott heads off to France tonight. So, hey, it's hard to believe you don't led 39 laps coming into tonight. You led 119 this evening. Best car you've had in a long time, Scott?
Yeah, I love winning in Texas, man. This place is awesome. Always a big thank you to Eddie Gossage and his team. They do a fantastic job. But PNC Bank car back in winner's circle, man, it's fantastic. The car was just stuck. I don't know, like whatever we did, the car was just nailed, and it was a bit loose at times, but can't thank the team enough. You know, the pit stop's fantastic. Emma's like, I haven't been to one of your wins for like 3 years, so I'm so happy that Emma and my mum are here tonight, so it's fantastic to celebrate with them.
How much did the patience early pay off late in the race, Scott?
I think we kind of just bought our time a little bit. Wanted to make sure that, the Firestone tires were looked after as much as possible. They did a good job tonight. We honestly went all the way to the end of the fuel stint, which we haven't done that for a long time. So super proud of, the whole effort on the team. But yeah, we conserved a little bit at the start, made sure that balance was good, and then, put the hammer down.
How about this? Third all-time alone now. You passed Michael and some big names in front of you. What does that mean to you career-wise and for what you've done in the series?
It means a lot, but more for the team. We celebrate together, we win and lose together, and 42 of those wins have been with this very team. One other, with Pac West. But, I can't thank them enough. Chip, Mike, Hannah, Barry, all the 9 crew, all the 10 crew. It's a big night for NTT Data too. I know it's another sponsor's victory circle here tonight, but NTT Data have supported us a lot. But PNC Bank back in leader circle, man.
You and I talked at Barber. You were like, man, it's been a miserable start to the season. But you know what? You're the championship leader by 23 points. Can you believe that?
That's not bad. That's hard to hold. It's going to be hard to hold on to, though. We'll see how the next few races go. But right now the car's running well. We had good speed all season, and we just got to keep it going.
There you go, the big guy, Chip Ganassi, the boss coming in. The Iceman cometh Lee. Scott Dixon, a big win, a dominant win here at the Texas Motor Speedway, and new championship leader as well.
Great to see it mean so much to him. Smiles all around in the Ganassi camp. And it was just a straightforward, good, flat-out win. Well planned and well executed. You've been watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Tag Heuer, official timepiece of the IndyCar Series, and by Fleet Cost and Care. Unleash the full potential of your fleet with Fleet Cost and Care software. Now this is what they call tough love. Chip Ganassi on Scott Dixon. Don't hurt him, Chip. He's got to do Le Mans in just a few days' time. That's some passion. That's some passion. I think there'll be another happy man too for getting on the podium. That's Simon Pagenaud. Let's hear from him.
And he's revisiting the race and talking about it with his engineer, Ben Bretzman. You and Alexander Rossi put on a little bit of show at the end of the race. What was that racing like, and how did you hang on to that position?
They gave me some gray hair at the end there. It was awesome. It was a great showing for DXC Technology, obviously, and I had a blast. I mean, it was very difficult racing, and Rossi kept me on my toes at the end. I had to try everything to break the draft. He was getting monster runs out of turn 3 and 4, but we had good handling and were able to hold it off. I was trying to break the draft on exit of 2, and it worked out for the last 10 laps. So super proud of my guys in the pits. They did a great job today, and the whole 22 teams was on it this weekend. So it's nice to get a good second place. We want to win, obviously, but it was a good showing.
So you came over and looked at your right front with the blisters. It was even a little more difficult in the middle stretch. What was it like trying to hang on? What's just the feeling of hoping that it all works out?
Well, I mean, the car was beautiful to start in the heat, actually, and as the temperature dropped, we got a little loose, and we adjusted to be more loose. So it got a little bit difficult in the middle. We readjusted for the end, and the car was again nice, but the nice thing with Firestone is they told us, they said, you might get blistering, but the tire is safe, so you don't have to worry about it. I'll tell you what, when the tire manufacturer tells you that, that's pretty awesome.
Well, it's been a rough season, a lot of bad luck for Simon Pagenaud, but he's got a result now. Second here tonight, Robin.
All right, once again, this kid was worth the price of admission, trying everything to get by Pagenaud at the end. Just didn't have quite enough, kid?
No, I mean, we tried it on the penultimate restart to go up high, but it was a big moment. So, after last weekend we learned, had a good car, good car for third, and I would have taken it if it was an easy one, but I couldn't force the issue. Simon did a good job kind of defending, and we came home third. But nonetheless, the Napa Auto Parts car was awesome, really from the get-go, and we were able to pass some cars and go along on fuel. Tire life was great, so all in all, a great effort from the 2017.
Is that your best save so far in an Indy car?
Oh boy, I had a couple big ones in Phoenix at the beginning of the year and Indy. So yeah, I mean, probably it's up there. I don't love it. I don't love it when that happens, for sure. But yeah, it was. It's an aspect of these cars, right? I think the 2018 cars really allow you to push that limit, whereas in years past, once it snaps once, it's kind of game over.
Looked like a better race than everybody was predicting.
Oh, for sure. And we always know that once the sun goes down here, it's going to be easier to follow. I don't think lane 2 ever opened up. But it's just, it ebbs and flows, IndyCar racing, and we will learn what we did from this year and see what next year brings us. But right now we're focused on North America and trying to chase down Scott.
All right, good points tonight for Alexander Rossi. Finishes third, Lee.
Yeah, and maintains his position in the top 2 now in the championship. And we're not done with talking to people. Some plenty more interviews to come. Stick around.
The Victory Lane celebration and party still going strong here at Texas Motor Speedway. Scott Dixon with yet another win on the season, but a lot of happy faces around here. I found one, James Hinchcliffe, bringing the 5-car home in 4th place after the month of May that you had. Do you feel like this team has kind of exercised some of those demons?
Yeah, I think tonight was very cleansing in that sense. First off, I want to say congrats to Scott. They're on the all-time win list, absolute legend. We had not a great day yesterday. We just don't have the out-and-out pace in this car that we wanted. We obviously saw that in Indy, but Texas is probably the least qualifying sensitive racetrack out there. We know we can race from anywhere. We've had such good cars here in the past, and the Aero car was just a rocket. We had really good long-run pace. Could really take care of those Firestones on a night when a lot of guys were struggling, and that's what really did it for us. We weren't super quick on the short runs. That's why we couldn't do too much on that last restart there, but we were really taking care of those tires well. So big credit to everybody on the team. This was a result we needed for sure.
How much of this race was about patience, knowing you needed to take care of those tires, and how much could you kind of push and go for it?
Honestly, for us, everything with the last 30 laps was patience. We knew we didn't have the outright pace. We had to kind of do it on strategy, on looking after those tires, extending those stints, and I think we were one of the best cars on that. We were able to pit later than most guys. We saw Robbie running up there as well. The cars were great. I feel bad for him to have his day end like that. Hope he's all right. But again, just huge credit to everybody on the team. We had to play a patience game. We had a couple problems in pit lane that put us back, so we had to fight our way back up, but part of the boys.
All right, a solid result for James Hinchcliffe. Kevin?
Kelly, Ryan Hunter-Reay has his 4th straight top 5. So on the level of sketchiness, how sketchy was tonight for you?
It was really sketchy early on, super sketchy. We were just really light, couldn't really place the car very well, and we kept adding to the front, just trying to get the front to work in traffic. I think the sketchiest of all was trying to save that much fuel at one point. We were the only car, I think us and Will Power were the only cars that were really going to make it to the end, and that's why we were doing our part in saving. Some of the others, I don't know where they were going. I guess they were just counting on the yellow coming out, but they took off, and we actually came in topped up on one of those yellows to make it to the end. So we were looking pretty good. If it didn't go yellow, it might have been 2 wins in a row for us.
It's been a few years since you could really fight for the championships. You're still 4th in that right now. What's that feeling like? As now we get into the second half of the season, and you're a legitimate contender and have had the pace to stay there in the fight.
Yeah, a little disappointed today. I just couldn't join the party there at the end. Just a little bit too much understeer. It just kept washing out, and every time I get closer, wash out, and I was really burning that right front off. So it's great to be contending for the championship. On one of these days when we really didn't have the balance of the car, didn't quite get it in the window, we took off, really good points. We took away really good points, and now we can head off to Road America and hopefully have a good one there.
So a good night for Ryan. He gets a 9 in the What You Cookin' Butterball segment in the top 5 of the race.
Highlight of the night, I guess. I don't know. But, that's awesome. Thanks, guys, and thanks, Butterball, for doing that.
I'd like the rest of that sandwich now, by the way.
We might just have it, Kevo. There was plenty left, and it looked pretty good as well. We'll come back. Still got more from Texas Motor Speedway. Stay with us. Scott Dixon's words were, "I love winning here in Texas." Well, he's done it now for the 3rd time in his career. and in dominant style as well. Spectacular night under the lights as Scott and his team continue to celebrate. And in addition to that, we've got a parade of concrete trucks. I don't know what else to say. It all happens here in Texas, doesn't it? And as we take a look at the unofficial results, when I take a quick look at that, guys, I see a lot of pleasing results for guys who had been struggling over the last month, 6 weeks.
Shout out to Takuma Sato on a track where things can get really crazy, and a driver that sometimes goes a little over the top is the wild thing. He kept it together, good strong result. Both him and Graham Rahal, his teammate. So for Rahal Letterman, a solid night, especially given where Graham started.
Yeah, I tell you what, you got to survive in the stock market the June swoon. And for Josef Newgarden, the start of June has been terrible for him. He's had 2 bad races in a row, 4 laps down. Very uncharacteristic of him.
He was hoping that tonight was going to be a turnaround point on his season that's seen him slip from 1st to 5th in the championship. He does stay in that spot, though. We came into tonight with just a 5-point lead of Will Power over Scott Dixon. Dixon leads with a whopping 23-point advantage.
Not a surprise to see Dixon at the top, but it's a surprise to see Dixon at the top at this point in the season. And I think Alexander Rossi knows it. He's got to hang on to the tail of Dixon second half of the season to have a chance.
Yeah, Marco Andretti and Sebastian still hanging on in the top 10. Good night for Sebastian. He didn't get a lot of play on TV, but a solid finish tonight.
So this has been an amazing period for Scott Dixon. You know, that strong finish at the 500, the win last week in Detroit. He's got Le Mans coming up next weekend. It's a really happy time for one of the best ever IndyCar has ever seen. Coming up next, it's Inside IndyCar. And that's highlights from the 102nd running of the Indianapolis 500. And we mentioned this a little bit earlier. We hope you can join us Sunday, June 24 from Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for the Cola Grand Prix. Check out NBCSports.com for everything you need to know. And we congratulate Scott Dixon. Great night here in Texas. We'll see you in 2 weeks in Wisconsin.